Y le falta tu camiseta de... Te falta tu camiseta de Murcia, hombre, ¿no? ¿Dónde te la dejo? Bueno, no pasa nada. La gente sabe que es de Murcia. En la torre de tu ronda. tiene también algunas preocupaciones. No la cuenta. Vamos, Hugo. A fuego, hermano. Hugo también va fuerte, ¿eh? Limpiando bien la zona, que no haya humedad. Hay un poco, ¿eh? Viene preparado un combo que lo voy entrenando, el cual no voy a decir nada, solo espero que lo caiga de pie. Y lo que dice, los jueces están preparados. Si los jueces te dan el ok, listo. Vale, bien, aterriza de buena forma. Combina usando todos y cada uno de los obstáculos y de los módulos. Sube arriba y termina. No lo he visto bien. Vale, quiero repetir. Porque la intención creo que era otra del primer movimiento. Quiere hacer corta y doble tiro, pero se fue muy para atrás. El peligro de tirar este movimiento hacia afuera es que está chunga la cosa. ¿Me puedes decir? Vamos con el siguiente. Samuel Salvatore. De Murcia, Murcia. Samuel Salvatore. Dale, tío. Viene de la gimnasia donde, ¿no? De la gimnasia del equipo de Estados Unidos. También de buen bacalao. Muy bien, tenemos puntuación. Puntuación de Samuel. Ahí, tocando los 20 puntos, 19 puntos, 9 puntos. Muy bien, tío. Muy buena puntuación. Vale, damas y caballeros, por esto vamos a dar unos pequeños minutos para calentamiento para la gente que quería repetir su ronda y hacer la ronda un poquito mejor. Así que un poco de paciencia y terminamos.
In Spain. This is World Chase Tag Malaga. This is the Chase Off, and I have here joining me Jake from, well, formerly from GNF. Do you want to introduce yourself, Jake?
Yeah, formerly GNF, still on GNF if you ask certain people. But yes, we are here at this World Chase Tag event. Connor, I am so excited, especially after last week while we were in the Netherlands at the Rooftop Kings Arena, seeing some of the insanity that happened. I can only imagine what we're going to witness here at this Malaga event.
Absolutely. A shame I couldn't make that last one, but I managed to tune in and see the crazy outcomes there. We obviously saw many of the teams that are competing today in Spain were just 1 week ago over in Rotterdam, putting it all on the line. And those teams were Dexterity Depot. We also had Foucault from Paris, and I will be saying them like that every time. And obviously the reigning champs from last weekend, Rooftop Kings.
Yeah, so Connor, I mean, last week, you know, we saw Foucault go through the open division and absolutely dominate all the way through. And when the finals came along, we really wondered how would they surmount to some of the teams, the big names. Dominance in those finals, and I can only imagine what we're going to see from them here.
Yeah, me too. And here we can see some of the league table for today. We have 10 matches in total. That's kicking off with Dexterity Depot and Murica. Murica, obviously not America, but a Spanish region just 400 kilometers away from today's event in Malaga. Team Murica, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Jake, but I think this is the first time we've seen a full Spanish team getting together for a World Chase Tag event. Is that right?
I want to believe you're correct here, but, you know, they are no, you know, newcomers to the sport. The last event that they were in, I mean, they showed absolute dominance over some of the teams that they were going against. So now seeing them up against teams like Dexterity Depot, Rooftop Kings, even Fakar, you know, I think there's going to be a lot of, you know, clashes that we're going to see here. And I think we're in for some very high octane chases.
No doubt. And obviously home ground advantage for these Spanish players. They've got fans on the side and they've got the language. Everyone's cheering them on in Spanish here today. We'll see how far they can go. Like we say, quick roundup. We've got Fakar coming in from Paris. Dexterity, which I believe a Pennsylvanian team. Is that right, Jake?
Yes, Dexterity from Dexterity Depot out in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, perfect. And then Rooftop Kings all the way down from Rotterdam, literally making the drive over the last few days. And I think the team we haven't spoke about yet is Team Nomad. Give me a little lowdown on what these guys have been up to, because I think they competed in Madrid this year in October. Is that right?
I believe you're right on that one. Nomad, you know, again, some of these teams, you know, we haven't really seen too much of. But as you look on social media and stuff and all the gyms and all the training videos from Chase Tag that we've been seeing pop up, you know, Nomad has shown, again, no slouches when it comes to the sport. Definitely can't be called newcomers because they show such experience when they step foot on the quad.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm particularly looking forward to one of their star players here, a young Gavin, 16 years old, just turned 16. So one of the younger players in this whole comp. And he came up through the Academy League, which is obviously the younger league of professional tag players as before they become the adult teams. I think he was on Team Phoenix, and then he's obviously came onto Team Nomad here to compete today. So as far as I can see from the rankings in the league of teams we've got up today, we've got 5 teams in for the win. It will be a round robin event, meaning each team will try and get the most evasions on the board, and at the end of 10 matches tonight, we will see who has the most evasions, the most points, and will come out victorious. Out of all of the teams, Jake, who do you think is going to take it home tonight? Obviously, we've talked about the less experienced teams. Maybe they can be seen as a little bit of an underdog. I don't know how deep you've been on the socials and what you're seeing from these guys, if there's any secret weapons we should be aware of. But who do you think will take it home overall of these 5 teams we've got here tonight, Jake?
You know, Connor, just coming off of from last week, like we said, the event over in Rotterdam at Rooftop Kings Arena, I mean, the performances that we saw from some of those teams that are here today, like Rooftop Kings, Fakar, we have Dexterity, who all played last week. Now, you know, something is to be said about, you know, the amount of travel a lot of these teams have had to do. Especially, you know, you have the American teams. You had Dexterity that went to the Netherlands. Now they're here in Spain. You really start to think, will fatigue wear in? You know, traveling takes a toll on the body. A lot of these teams have been nonstop, have been competing for the last 2 weeks, have been training, you know, even before that. For me, truthfully, I am excited to see what Rooftop Kings can do. Because last week, you know, they stomped on their home ground. They took home the crown. The Rooftop Queens even took home the crown in the women's division. So that was really good for that gym. So now I'm excited to see how they go up against, you know, Dexterity again. How they go up against Fakar again. Team Nomad, you know, Team Merc. Like, it's going to be such exciting matches that we're going to see. And maybe we'll see them get toppled, you know, when we're talking about Rooftop Kings. Or will we see that dominant performance again? I mean, only time will tell.
100%. I mean, a rolling stone catches no moss. Rooftop are obviously on a roll. They've got some momentum behind them. It'll be interesting to see if they can capitalize on that, come in today and be able to smash it out of the park. But like you say, travel fatigue. And let's not be funny, obviously competing at this high level last weekend and taking the win takes a lot of athleticism, but it also drains the tank. Where's the recovery between last weekend's big competition and this weekend's big competition? That's what I'd like to know. And if these guys are recovering properly, then maybe we've got a shot at taking a win against some of these fresher teams. But for me, it has to come down to the athleticism and whether or not people have treated this seriously between one event and the other while in transit. Team America here looking like shaking out some early nerves, and then a nice team group to get together. Some younger players here, some more veteran parkour athletes. Let's see how they do on the quad today. The first teams we have up on the first matching today is Dexterity Depot versus America Movement.
Yeah, and there's something to be said about Dexterity Depot right now. You know, like we said, they did play last week. Will fatigue start to set in? But today, they are playing with a shorter team, you know? We don't see the full 6-man team that you would normally see, like we see on the opposite side of them right now, Team America. So really, let's see how they hold up in this opening match.
Yeah, this has got to factor in as well. We've only got Team Dexterity have got 4 players against 6 on America. This cannot be understated how much this is going to drain the tank, especially in the later chases. And here we go. Team Dexterity coming in brilliantly, flushing out the tilted cube, coming under the mountain and trying to pierce through that loading bay. Really good flush there. Oh, seemed to have lost the live feed for a second. I'm going to hear that as a tag.
Yeah, it seems like there was the tag was over by the loading bay there. Alex was able to thread right through. We did lose the live for a second, but we are back. Dexterity Depot now up on the evaders side.
Perfect. Quick reminder to any audience members out there, as we get the tag, we get the opportunity for an evasion. It's winner stays on the quad, and Alex has won that first tag, giving him the opportunity for an evasion. Scrambling underneath the mountain and taking a quick pause by the tilted cube over the sisters and on the front line. Quick little juke in open ground, risky move, but really good clearing of the sisters and a nice thread through the mountain to go under the ridge. He's making good time here, you know, Jake, and under... Oh, he's gone over the sisters, and that is a first evasion on the board for Dexterity. Well done.
A beautiful way to start off this match. Dexterity up 1-0. There is something to be mentioned, right? Rooftop Kings Arena was walled in on 3 sides of the quad, so athletes had to be very careful when running the outside. This event here, there are no walls, so they can run as freely as they want.
America seeing if they can bring it back now. They need to stop this momentum and try and get this tag for the opportunity for their own evasion. But Alex is having none of it. Good breakaway on the front line there, making a good bit of distance, and he's up by the loading bay. Quick little stomp to standoff. This is a really good standoff here. We've got some mind games played between the 2 players all the way up until the clock has run out. Tell me what was going on in that back right corner, Jake.
Wow, I think... You know, on the chaser side, there wasn't really a semblance of the time that was all gone into that. I believe they stood there stalemated for about 8 seconds, which you never see in a corner as busy as the loading bay. But Dex up 2-0 very early on.
2-0, which means Alex has obviously got the tag, got an evasion and another evasion. He has got some gas in him, this boy. Let's see if he can maintain that gas and keep the energy up. Making some good plays. He's got a good bit of stalling under the ridge, breaks away under the mountain and making some time over the tilted cube. Nice little saunter here. He's not on any big rush. It feels like he knows where his player is.
Wow. You know, the hat trick from Alex, just putting Dex in a very dominated lead right now, which is great for Dexterity, right? Now you have, you know, we said they're going into this with only 4 players. Those 3 other athletes are still fresh while, you know, Merca's quickly moving through their roster trying to tag them.
And so each player getting put in is a fresh player by America. But Alex is able to get over the sisters and through the tilted cube here. A quick little center cut and then back to a nice high E cube. That's evasion quality obstacle. Breaking away on the front line again to the sisters, but a player is there ready to get the tag.
Yes, I mean, great. You know, usually we always talk about center control. Connor, I know that's one of your big things, right? Center control is key. But now if the evader gets center control to really try to gain some distance on you, you know, that's pretty tough to try to come back from. America able to get the tag, but have a pretty big mountain to climb.
Sage stepping up to the chaser plate here and on the quad. She's coming up to that loading bay in the back right, speeding up and again cutting into the center to stop the options from America player. America player is doing really well there. Nice bit of juking in the loading bay, but he's cutting away all of his options and needed to sprint. There needed to be a flush and a big sprint out of that last corner. What do you think, Jake?
That was amazing work by Sage there. Sage plays on Dexterity Vortex women's team coming out of Dexterity Depot. So she trains with everybody. She trains with 2 teams at a time. You know, all the experience that she can get, we saw right there. Getting a pretty dominant tag, keeping control around the loading bay. And now, again, Dex still lead 3-0.
And we're coming up to the middle game here. 17 out of 16 chases, and Sage doing really well to juke by the loading bay, coming around the front line. Quick little step on the border a couple of times, giving her that option to sprint away, but there's the tag made in the center.
Yeah, beautiful work there from America, just out on the heels, not letting them get distance. You know, we've already seen that Dexterity is a team that can snowball pretty quickly out of control. Paul Fisher up on the chaser's plate is also one that can just easily strike when he needs to and get very impactful tags.
Nice low down starting position from Paul there on the chaser plate. And I see a lot of sand being dusted from the feet. Oh, there's a quick tag there against the loading bay. Tell me about what's all the foot rubbing going on? Is that sand, Jake? What's going on the chaser plate?
Yes, it seems like there is sand around the quad. You know, this event is being held at a bigger event. You see the parkour section off to the side. I know there was a speed competition happening earlier. You know, things can get on the quad. That's why maybe you see some of the athletes a little bit more apprehensive when maybe going for slides and full speed running.
Interesting starting position here by Paul by the ridge, a little bit closer to the chaser plate. Let's see what he can do with it. He's got a little fullback position on the loading bay underneath the mountain over the sisters. And there's the juke changing direction, going back over the sisters to stop by the tilted cube. Each one of these stops is gaining him in precious seconds under the mountain to the loading bay. Another little bit of pausing there. Really good work by Paul to get the 4th evasion. This is an absolute runaway, Jake.
Yeah, you know, we talked about Dexterity. How do they surmount to a team that has, you know, 1, 2 more players than they do? I mean, they're showing that it really hasn't affected them, and we haven't even seen team captain Tim Dexter yet, who's still waiting on the side, completely fresh, but we have Pedro up on the chaser's plate.
Pedro coming in hot, straight up to the ridge to get a quick flush. He's not messing about. Over the front line, and there's almost a tag, and there is the tag by the sisters. Nice quick tag. Sub 10 seconds there by Pedro. He might bring it back, and to be honest, America need to bring it back at this stage. We're coming into the end game, the last 5 chases of this 16 chase match. And if they don't start doing something quick, Jake, they are going to find themselves all out of opportunities to get this win.
Definitely. They need to make something happen right now. There's no doubt about it. But Tim Dexter up on the chaser's plate to stop him.
There it is. Tim coming in as team captain of Dexterity. Nice and slow, nice and strategic. Little breach into the tilted cube. And then there it is underneath the mountain for a nice clean tag.
And of course, you see everybody coming in between the chases. You know, like we said, dusting off the obstacles to keep every athlete as safe as possible. When you're running as quick as these athletes are running over and under these bars and platforms, you have to take all the precaution you possibly can. So we want to keep all the athletes as safe as possible, but we now move into match point. An evasion on Dexterity's part will win this match.
And it looks like they've had that experience on evasions. I feel like they should be confident, and a fresh player in Tim as well. Not been used that much, only had 1 opportunity to chase, and this is an opportunity to get that evasion under the mountain, behind the loading bay. Quick little juke, but there's a die-threaded tag. America getting that opportunity to get a comeback. This would be the comeback of the century, really. We have 4 evasions against America's 0. They're going to need to start moving if they want to get some points on the board and get back this win.
Yeah, quite the comeback, right? 4 just to tie it. And then go into sudden death is a very big ask, but let's see if they can do it.
And Paul back on. He's coming into the tilted cube. There's a little dive thread. I think that eye of the needle type stuff going on there through this upright bars on the tilted cube. And there's a tag made, which obviously means it was match point. We got the tag. We shut down on the evasion opportunity. And that means it's 4-0. Strong start.
Yeah, I mean, to come into this event right away, you know, we talked about it right before the event, Connor. We said, you know, how does Dexter mount to these teams, right? Will fatigue play a part? Will their stamina even hold up? I mean, Alex able to get 3 evasions after a tag in the opening 4 rounds was an incredible way to start off the match for them and put them in a very safe spot where all they need to do now is realistically play defense. You know, getting another point up on the board, putting them at 4-0, was just kind of rubbing salt in the wound at that point. But all in all, Dexterity Depot in the opening match showing a dominant performance. And I think, you know, maybe they have a chip on their shoulder from last week. You know, maybe it didn't go as well as they wanted to, and they have something to prove now.
Yeah, well, we've definitely proven the fact that all of that travel and that training in between has taken nothing away from these players. They're able to put it there and get that hat trick. I remember when a hat trick of evasions was a thing of myth. Obviously, since then, we've had some triples, some quads, and even 5 in a row. I think the top score of evasions in a row is still held by actually a Spanish player, Javier Rodriguez, Mr. Guac Track himself. I think he got all 8. So that was a full cycle of every player plus a couple more. That was back in the day. So we got half of the total world record for how many evasions you can get in one match by one player. And here we've got, again, the quad getting cleaned up, making sure everything's prepped for the next matching. You got to think, how America feeling? I mean, I know I've competed on this. It's very nerve-wracking, getting onto that starter plate and going up against a more experienced team. Coming away from that first one, Jake, what do you think they're feeling against Dexterity? But obviously, they've got many more matches to play this evening. How does the team get back that psychological edge to come in and give their best?
You know, I mean, that amazing question that is, because, you know, the mental is a big part of this sport, right? Being the opening match, though, I think, you know, that maybe shakes off any nerves they might have had. Now they get to sit back for 2 matches, maybe watch everybody else, watch the other teams that are a part of this, and get a little bit more strategy that, you know, they might really need. And I think we're going to see that, and they might implement that. But now we have Fakaw up against Team Nomad in this second match.
Brilliant. And for course player Roger starting with his signature ridge start. Really good juking at the back line, evading and getting round the tilted cube over the sisters quick as nothing. Real quick acceleration around the front line to make it back to a high EQ, high cover area. Really good juking at the loading bay, but looks like there was a tag made. And I think that tag was a hand tag, a little sniper work going on. Is that what you saw, Jake?
Yeah, right there at the loading bay. We saw so much of it last week, right? Those hand tags. You don't realize you're holding on to obstacles, and then the chaser reaches out a hand, you feel your fingers get tagged, and you think to yourself, did that really just happen? Did I really leave my hand right in front of them? And you did. It happened.
Yeah, you got to watch every part of your body when playing this game, and Esteban is keeping his eyes open. There he is, setting up a chase over the sisters, and there's a tag on the front line with a small slip from Nomad's player there.
Yeah, Esteban, one of the key players of Fakaw last week. We also had Roger, like you saw, right in the beginning. The heavy hitters of Fakaw that got them through that open division. So, you know, again, another team with possibly a chip on their shoulder, something to prove.
could be. But again, Nomad, another team coming in that are pretty fresh. They have played heavily before, and even in Spain on the last Madrid chase-off, coming #1 in that. So these are high contenders. These are not newbies to the sport, and a really good bit of center cutting there by Nomad's player with a tag that Esteban didn't even see coming on the front line there.
Yeah, I mean, great work there by the Chaser. Now, also, Team Nomad, something to note about them, they were the winners of, and I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher this, the La Vagata Chase-Off, right? So they are winners of a Chase-Off event already. They're coming into this, you know, all the experience, all the skill needed to take it home. So Fakar really have to prove themselves here.
Yeah, great stuff. And we've got Fakar coming in hot, trying to get that tag, and there is a tag, oh, maybe not. Player outside of bounds. Either the tag was made or it goes straight to an evasion for the Nomads.
Yeah, really unfortunate there. You saw that speed up right there under the mountain from the Fakar Chaser, but just couldn't stop themselves. Missed the tag by possibly fingertips, barreling outside of the quad, which, if you go out as a Chaser, that counts as an evasion. If you go out as an evader, that counts as a tag. So now that puts Nomad up 1-0.
I bet they're enjoying that, and that is an interesting start there all the way over the Sisters with a quick little scramble underneath the mountain to pause by the loading bay. Players using this loading bay really well today, using that juke, keeping the eyes open. Again, a pause at the Sisters, little Sam stutter step there. Quick frontline sprint, and then under the ridge, not messing about, under the loading bay, under the mountain for that second evasion. If the first one was a little bit of a win by default, this has proven that they can get a full 20-second evasion.
Yeah, that was beautiful work. I love that little pause there over by the Sisters. Instead of doing, you know, the ghost over it, or maybe taking it to do the high line or the guac trock back, you know, stopping, pausing, and just waiting, staring at your evader, saying, "You go ahead, make a move, I'll wait for you."
And for course, sending in someone to stop that move. There's a tag, and just as Nomad pushed another player out, they've been pushed out themselves. So there's the tag made. For course, stepping up, I believe this is Mr. Antoine in the opportunity to get an evasion for Fakar, and they will need it. We're about halfway through the chases here for this match. We've got 16 chases total, and Antoine stepping underneath the mountain. A nice little side step there. Which way will he go, left or right? Nomad flushing out with a nice bit of center control there. Pausing on the front line. Antoine speeding up, getting the breakaway. A little slip by Nomad's player on the top of some of these platforms. Antoine doing really well to keep that distance, though. Again on the front line, we're coming up to the last parts of the chase. Quick little pause. All he needs to do is cut down that time, and there it is. An evasion on the board for Fakar. This is 2-1.
Yeah, really good job there from Antoine getting that point back, only having Nomad now stay in the lead by 1 point. But, you know, Nomad throwing out their Chaser here, who did just get them those opening 2 points. So, if anybody can really bring it back and just continue this dominating lead, it is them.
Interesting stuff. Yeah, using a player back-to-back like this is a very strong strategy. It shows a lot of faith in that exact player, and there is the tag. Oh, maybe not. Sorry, I misspoke. Antoine doing well to keep that distance. It was a reached out arm, but not quite making contact there. Underneath the ridge, Antoine's pausing, keeping the distance, getting those little steps in to not show which way he's going to go, and that is 2-all.
Oh, it looks like we are going to go to a DTR. Like you hear on the live stream, that is a disputed tag review. We will check the cameras. The referees will see if a tag was made, where the Chaser is saying that they, you know, made the tag. You did see a hand go up over by the loading bay there. It looked like a tag was made. I know you even said, oh, the tag. So we are going to check to see if one was made in that corner.
It did look like it. Now, obviously, this is a high-octane sport. We've got a lot going on. Sometimes the adrenaline is running high. While you're sprinting, you're not sure. And this contact isn't always, you know, players trying to lie their way to a win. It is most usually that they truly did not feel it, which is why we have a DTR. Jake, have you ever been part of a DTR?
I have, yes. I have been a part of a DTR. It was a very unfortunate one against actually Dexterity Depot, where one of their athletes, Mike Myers, came down from the ridge. He said he tagged me, but unfortunately, I believe he actually tore his ACL when he hit the ground. So we were going back and forth, and it was disputed that the tag was not made. I did not feel it. But even if, you know, in a case like that, if a tag was made, but he could not continue, I would still stay on, but a point would not be given.
Interesting. We've just heard here from the official ref here. We have got a tag. That is contact made just over by the loading bay. We have made a tag decision, which means that Fakor have no evasion on that particular round. That means that Nomad has now got the opportunity to get an evasion, and we've sent in Roger by Fakor's team as a tagger. There's the chase. He's got him on the front line, pushing him through. Almost made a snipe tag. There's a hand tag, flushing out of the ridge with a little bit of threading. But Nomad are doing really well to keep this distance. A nice little bit of pausing, hesitation, juking one way and then the other. Great standoff. And there's the breakaway for Nomad to come up 3-1 now.
Yeah, heartbreaking that that evasion from Fakor was not given. That was the equalizer. Roger just not able to get the tag early on there. I thought a tag was going to be gotten right here. Beautiful move, though. Yep. Up and around the ridge, just keeping the chasers second-guessing themselves. And Nomad now up 3-1.
Yeah, they're going to have to start pulling out some moves if Fakor want to bring this back. Nomad have proved that they can definitely get this win. And there's another bit of pausing. Esteban pushing through Fakor's player with a nice dive thread through the loading bay. Little clap there from Nomad, deciding, yeah, you know what, that was fair play. I didn't expect a guy so big to fit through such tight bars to get that tag.
Yeah, Esteban, like I said, one of the key players of Fakor, you know, showing why I am calling that, because he's able to do things like that that you would not expect and get the tags that this team needs. And I mean, right now, Chase 11, they need some evasions too.
Yes, and let's see if Esteban can deliver. Starting by the tilted cube, classic start. Nice little vault through the mountain, coming around the front line. There's really no distance there. He's right tailing him on his back. I think player believe there was a tag there. Nomad, yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it didn't look so obvious, but I think there's a tag made. Esteban seemed frustrated enough that the tag was evident. Where if we look at this replay, he's got a nice step over, but as soon as he steps up, like I say, there was no distance between these two players on that Sisters.
And is Esteban going back in? He's back up on the Chasers plate.
Coming in for a bit of revenge. This might be something personal here on the quad today. Esteban stepping through the ridge. Absolutely no worries about obstacle. Blocking off lots of positions with the spider technique through the loading bay. And then following underneath the ridge across the front line. There's a good bit of distance between them. He's going high while Nomad's going low. Great bit of scrambling there if he can keep that distance. But he can't. Oh my gosh. And what was the time on that, Jake?
That was, I mean, probably 18 seconds and some change, I imagine. Just such close chasing. You see them in the back there. It looked like one of those decals might have been coming off, which would be a hazard, you know, if you try to use those slanted boards in the back. Both teams just ripping it off, saying, get this out of here. We need it to be perfect.
Yeah, I mean, safety first here. We've got Nomad sliding through, really good threaded slide there on the tilted cube to flush out Esteban. Esteban pausing in a real open area on the front line. Risky moves, pushing through the mountain, underneath the ridge, coming by the front line. Esteban's keeping that distance this time. Nice sprint over the Sisters, and that has brought it home for him. They have another evasion on the board.
Wow, yeah, just tying it up. 3-2 now. Chase 14. So right now, Esteban seems very confident in himself to keep this, you know, keep the points going. We saw this from Fakor in the open division last week. When they start getting points, they just keep going and they don't stop.
Yeah, we got that momentum there. Finally, we're seeing a different player from Nomad, but a quick little slip there on the chase. It hasn't put him off. And again, slip and slide over here at World Chase Tag over in Malaga. It must be a little bit humid. Pushing through the ridge, a couple of almost flush techniques, but he has to really commit. Otherwise, Esteban will not think it's real. And there is evasion number 3 for Fakor.
Yeah, and, you know, we're seeing some of these, like, slips on these obstacles. But mind you, the athletes have been on the quad all throughout this weekend so far. You know, they were training on it yesterday. They were training on it today. So they know how it feels, and they really kind of got adjusted to it. So they should know what they can and cannot do up to this point.
Yeah, obviously we got to try not to get caught, but we've got to try and keep ourselves safe while we do that, or else there's only one game and then it's injury time. Esteban has done well to keep himself safe. Nice push over here on the front line, and he's by the ridge, a quick little stall out, and then pushing back through the ridge. He still doesn't have that distance. I just feel like, oh my gosh, Nomad could not close the distance, and Esteban has come away with a 4-3 victory against Fakar.
Wow. That is actually, I thought a tag was made over by the Lazy Boy there. He seems so close to Esteban. I believe, though, we are... Yeah, that was match point. Yeah, you are right. That put Fakar in the win.
Fantastic stuff there by Esteban. I did see, obviously, in this particular matchup between Fakar and Nomad, we're seeing some repeat players being used each time. I'm not seeing too much from a whole team's roster. Jake, run me through that. Do you think they're trying to reserve players for later matches, or is it just a matter of, we've got a guy we know will do the job, let's use him as much as possible to get the job done early?
You know, like you said, we've seen this already, right? You see this in a couple matches. We saw this even last week. We saw this a lot in the American League as well, where athletes keep getting thrown in, or maybe they just put themselves in. I don't know if it's, you know, maybe out of anger or out of frustration, or like you said, maybe they know this guy can get the job done, so why would we put in anybody else? They feel confident. The only downside is if you don't get the evasion or you don't get the tag, that puts your team in a really bad spot, because now you're just tiring yourself out. It is a team sport at the end of the day. Each match, yes, you know, each round is individual, one against one, but overall, it is a team match. You have to play as a cohesive team. Now, it did work for Fakar there, but they were down in the beginning of that match. Esteban, luckily for them, was able to just keep getting those points. You know, like I said, we saw them snowball last week. We saw them snowball just now. Will it work later in this event, you know, when a lot of them are tired? I don't know if it's the smartest idea.
Yeah, well, I mean, you mentioned it with America earlier. We're having that opportunity to play a match hard and then see, okay, we've got the next match off. We can take our time with this. Fakar are going to be able to do that exact same thing now. We've got Rooftop Kings versus America. America hopefully have used their rest well and are going to prep up for the next match against the reigning chase-off, or the most current chase-off winners from last weekend, which is Rooftop Kings. Going to be interesting to see if America have got their head back in the game, got that psychological secureness to reapproach, let the last loss go. Okay, we lost 4-0 against Dexterity. What are we doing to reapproach this and come up against Rooftop with a chance to feel like we can win this? I remember you saying, Jake, before, you've sort of had to deal a little bit with this mindset, with the psychological side of World Chase Tag, not just the physical. Could you run me through how America are going to bounce back from that 4-0 loss?
Yeah, you know, it is definitely tough. But again, being the first match of the night, right? Losing 4-0, it sucks, right? It doesn't feel good. But, you know, shake the cobwebs off. Maybe it was nerves. You know, each playing field brings another level of pressure. You have people watching. You have everybody watching, everybody online, the spectators, the athletes. You know, you got to get those nerves out. Now, there is another level to that, right? Your next match, you're going up against the winners of the Rotterdam chase-off that just happened last week. That's another level of, you know, mentality that you have to put yourself through. Now, Connor, I could tell you from past experiences, my first time ever touching a quad in a competitive setting was against the undefeated champs Marrero gang. You know, your team. Do you understand the pressure that was put on us? We had 3 people that have never done World Chase Tag, and they go ahead and face the undefeated champs. And let me tell you, the talks that we had to have as a team were like, we had to really get in our heads and say, there are no mistakes here. You cannot mess up. There are no nerves to shake. You got to do what you got to do. And America have to do what they have to do. Doesn't matter that Rooftop Kings just won. This is a new event. It's a whole new night. You have other chases after this, so you might as well go out with a bang.
Said like a true sportsman. Very good, Jake. Yeah, this is exactly it. We've got to really re-engage and think about this in terms of belief. To quote Rocky, we've just got to put one foot in front of the other and get that win. Here we go, yeah, a nice little prep talk from Damien and America against Rooftop Kings. We start with a rock, paper, scissors. America movement stepping up for the first opportunity. They can either choose to chase or choose to evade. What are the advantages on either of those positions, Jake?
You know, I've wondered to this point, Connor, has any team won the rock, paper, scissors and gone up to chase? Because obviously you want to go up to evade, you throw in your strongest athlete and hope that they can get a point on the board. And by doing that, you know, the chasers have to throw in their strongest athlete, or so you hope, to really, you know, catch you, snipe the tag, or you tire them out. I've never seen a team win a rock, paper, scissors and go up to chase.
So evasion is definitely the stronger position, and America know what they're doing by picking that and starting the evasion opportunity with a nice little juke under the sisters. Might have got a little warm-up in from the last match. America coming in with one match underneath their belt today, whereas Rooftop Kings coming in with the tag.
Yeah, beautiful work there, under the ridge there. Just that good little, you know, kept center control, waited to make a move. You see a lot of these chases happen where in the first opening seconds, a big dive or, you know, a big shoot through the ridge happens immediately. But sometimes if it misses, you put yourself back. You know, keep that center control, wait for your time to strike, and strike when you need to.
Perfect. Down there, starting by the ridge, Rooftop Kings player on the evasion opportunity, coming underneath the mountain with a little juke by the mountain. That was risky. Almost the tag was made. America flushing out over the ridge now. Dan going underneath the mountain from Rooftop Kings over the sisters. Ooh, a little bit of the scramble there. And a slide tag attempt was made in the front line. And that's really where the miss was. That distance after that was undeniable. With 20 seconds down on the clock, Rooftop Kings have secured their first evasion.
Yeah, beautiful work there. I mean, you know, again, we understand why they dominated the last event that they were in last week, and you saw that juke under the mountain. We see a lot more jukes in open space. I wonder how many more we'll see this event.
Yeah, risky little position to juke in, but if you can put off the other players' rhythm, if you can affect their chase pace, then you can control the amount that you've got distance on them to get placed for another cover. Dan, unfortunately, getting a tag there, almost in the exact same place that he dodged to get the evasion on the last round there.
Yeah, Dan, you know, one of the strongest players on Rooftop Kings, another very strong player, team captain, Red One, owner of the Rooftop Kings arena, you know, knows a quad inside and out. So let's see if he could get this tag and keep them on top 1-0.
Red One starting off the chaser plate with a quick little step through near the ridge, keeping that center control. He's stepping up with a Tiger entry on the tilted cube, but not needed it. He threw away the entry on the tilted cube when he could see the player was flushed out under the mountain, sped up, and then managed to secure that tag under the bars of the mountain on the right side.
Yeah, beautiful work there. That scramble under the mountain. You know, we did hear from Red One that he wants to, you know, clip farm at this event. So let's see. Maybe that bites him in the end here, or maybe he could do it and get some really good viral moments today.
He just wants it all, really. Red One stepping up with an evasion. A little slip there. I thought it was a juke, but it turned out to be a slip. There's a Kong over the sisters and a quick little pause on the front line. Really interesting places to get these open pauses. A snipe tag attempt was made. Unfortunately, misses the hand. Red One again stepping back to the front line for the second evasion on the board for Rooftop Kings.
Yeah, and you got to be careful, right? Much like Fakal, we saw Rooftop Kings do this as well. When they start getting that momentum, they are very tough to stop. Now, Garcia movement. You know, again, lost their first match, 4-0. You don't want to go out losing this match without getting a point on the board.
Yeah, they're going to need across the tournament to get a couple of points on just to be in the runnings for some podium positions by the end. Red One doing a really nice juke here by the loading bay, but unfortunately it is completely tagged on 8 seconds there by America. Really good work to get that tag, which gives them the hot seat. They are now in an opportunity to get their own evasion. We'll see the replay here. Run me through this, Jake.
Yeah, getting into that loading bay very quickly, I think a lot of athletes, think that the chaser is going to stall them or spider through it, but, you go through it quick, it's hard to make a move.
Ooh, little tag quickly made on the front line there by Rooftop Kings. So shutting down that opportunity for America to get the comeback they were looking for. We're coming into chase 8 now with Rooftop Kings again in that opportunity for the chase, for an evasion. And we've got a young player here from Team America Movement stepping up on the chaser plate, hopefully able to do it for his team and get that tag. And over he goes. We've come in over the ridge, a quick little hesitation. There's some stalling there. A nice little scramble underneath the front line, but cutting back into the center. Ooh, little slip and almost getting the tag. A nice dive through the lazy boy, stepping over. And again, we need to get him out of this ridge position because this ridge position gives him a lot of cover. Rooftop Kings on one more evasion added. That leads them to a 3-0 lead.
Yeah, Rooftop Kings in a dominant position right now into chase 9. Mercia Movement, I mean, the hill they have to climb and then continue to go further is getting higher and higher.
Pedro stepping up for Mercia on this chaser plate, and he's coming over on the outside line, flushing through Bent as he comes. Bent's trying to evade. He's got past the ridge. There was a quick tag attempt made. Another tag attempt made by Pedro. A scramble underneath the center, flushing out of the tilted cube. Bent's really making some energy here, getting across the front line. And one more tag attempt made. 3. Ooh, I think that was so close. I think there's 4 different tag attempts made there by Pedro all the way around the quad, keeping the pressure on, making sure Rooftop Kings player Bent was on his heels the whole time.
Yeah, fell into the trap, though, of trailing behind for most of that. If you can't beat them in a straight-out sprint, you got to take that center control.
I think he was super hoping that he was just fast enough. It looked like he had the energy, he had the vigor to be able to just put the gas on and try and wear his opponent out. Did not seem to be working, though. This is a game of brain, not just brawn. Bent playing it to his strengths. Couple of stalls on the front line and open. Nice little high line strides here, starting with the sisters coming through the tilted cube and getting the evasion high up in the air away from Mercia's player.
Yeah, first high line we've seen so far in this match. With all the slippery obstacles you saw, it wasn't really taken with too much speed, but a little bit more technique to make sure that they were safe. But Rooftop Kings with a commanding lead, putting them in match point now.
And starting the match really calm here. Bent getting a little bit of a fallback position from the ridge and again going high line. It's a little bit of a slip off of the mountain, but he's stalling by the tilted cube. Bit of a standoff between these two players, and then the break is made. Mercy doing really well to dive through the tilted cube and get that tag in time to finally give them the opportunity for this comeback. They do need it.
Yeah, Ben, I think, just happy to sit there, waste as much time as he needed. He's like, I already did my job. I got points on the board. Hey, I need you guys. You guys can finish off the match.
Dan Van Diesel stepping up, one of the younger players and the future of the sport, quoted as by a few of the Rotterdam players talking last week. He is able to flush his opponent easily by the tilted cube and get that tag under 10 seconds.
Yeah,
and that makes it match point.
Yeah, like you said, Dan, we heard quoted from the Rotterdam Chase-Off last week. People were, talking about his performance. One of the players that performed the best all throughout last weekend. Just stayed on it every single time, every chase. He showed up, did what he had to do. I mean, and you saw it right there. That was match point, and that tag, it was just, blazing fast. Unfortunately, we don't get to see much more of Dan in this match, but we will see him in their upcoming matches. we do move up to Dexterity Depot against Nomad. Now, we've seen it at World Chase Tag. I believe it was World Chase Tag 6 of last year that, you know, America and France, they had a pretty big, you know, it was very fiery, those matches, when they went back and forth. So I can only imagine what we're going to see today.
No doubt. There's a lot of energy and intention here. Neither country wanting to give away that win. They want to say they are the best at World Chase Tag. The French want to hold that title. They want to make sure that they're walking away with a really strong win in their pocket and say, right, the French have got this. We've got loads of gyms. We've got loads of people. We've got a huge community. We're representing all of that and more every time we get an evasion and hopefully get the win. America also very similar. All the way across the United States, there are many different teams now. It's a very highly competitive league in the United States of America. So to see all of the different teams in France and all of the different teams in America work up to get that really highly competitive level of athleticism, as soon as they cross paths, usually in Europe, we're going to see heads butt, because everyone wants that win. They want to walk away saying they are the absolute champs of the sport.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, obviously, you know, at the end of the day, when you look at it from, you know, you zoom out and really look at it, it's like, yes, this is a game of, you know, tag, right? But this is such a physical sport that in every aspect, if you can just go out and straight dominate a team, or if an individual can go out and straight dominate a whole team, you know, that shows that that athlete is on the top of the mountain. Right? Not the actual mountain on the quad. I mean, possibly there too, but, you know, just they are the best of the best. And we've seen athletes throughout the course of the years of World Chase Tag be called the best of the best. You know, and right now, Nomad have a player with the second best elo on the squared ranked system. I mean, you know, to have a player like that, that's insane. So
run me through that. Run me through that, please. What's an ELO for those at home that need to get this definition? And for me also, because I don't think I know what an ELO is.
ELO is basically your individual stat, right? It's how well you play. You know, how long you're on the quad, how long your average chases are, points you've gotten, like, you know, tags you've gotten. It all gets put together as like a score. You know, if you watch baseball for some of my friends in the States, you know, you have your RBI, right? That's your average. That's how well you do. So those numbers and those rankings show how good an athlete are. And Nomad right now have an athlete on there with the second best on that ranked system. So truthfully, they have one of the best athletes in the league.
That's is that Gaetan?
That is, I'm checking right now. I believe that might be T-Ross.
Oh, Leo from T-Ross. We'll get back to you with that one in a second.
We'll get back to you.
Right now, we've got a match to play, and this is Sage from Team Dexterity, starting with a little stutter step on the front line and coming under the ridge, making her way to the back of the quad, underneath the mountain quickly, not hanging about by the tilted cube, through the center with a little jitter, over on the front line with a quick skip. Was tag made? Sage is still making distance. It needs to be obvious. If you do not make it obvious, always the evaders should take it as if the tag wasn't made so they can run away.
Yeah, that was very close there, Connor. I know where Nomad thinks they made the tag, but I don't know if one was made. It looked like it was just out of reach. But we will go to the cameras for the DTR to check.
Perfect. And this is obviously the head ref today, looking through the footage, getting the disputed tag undisputed so we can figure out if it was a tag by Team Nomad. Right here by the front line, a quick slip, and there doesn't look to be a tag as far as I'm concerned, but I'm just a lowly commentator. We're going to leave this to the head ref. And Sage thinks she definitely didn't feel it, and she got that distance to make an evasion by the loading bay.
Okay, and the result is...
There's an evasion given. First point on the board by Dexterity. We have 1-0. Sage was very confident in her runaway. And like I say, players always should. It needs to be obvious. Isn't that right, Jake?
Yeah, you can't just think you got a tag and stop, because now that time runs out. You know, if you didn't get that tag, you let up a point like we just saw. But now we see Gabin on Nomad, one of those key players from their last match. But Dex already leading 1-0.
And Gabin stepping up, absolute key player. This is your ELO high-ranked player we've got. And we can see why. Very highly utilized in the last match that Nomad played. Gabin flushing through with a nice spider crawl and a dive through the bars to get a tag on Sage. This is what they need, isn't that right, Jake? They need to start getting points on the board, and Gabin might be their man to do it.
Yeah, and you know, right now, like we saw just step up on the Chasers plate, we do see Alex Mosley, who for Dexterity in their first match put up 3 points after getting a tag. So right now, Gabin needs to evade here and keep Alex off of the evader side.
Gabin starting at a very unconventional position on the sisters with a quick juke, using his head to show which way he's going to go, and those bubbly hair, tied up hair bubbles he's got helping him. Really changing direction, but Alex is closing in step by step, inch by inch. Every second that is going down is working in the evader's favor until the chaser is close enough. Then you've really got to break away and get out of that position. Tough spot to be in by Gabin.
Yeah, very tough. I've been on the opposite side of Alex Mosley in those exact positions. He will reach you no matter what. He has a very long reach, but will thread through almost anything.
And I was really impressed by how calm Alex was hunting down his man in the tilted cube there. But we move. Alex now in an evading position, got the opportunity for Dexterity to get another one on the board. Might be able to make it, but there isn't much distance between him and Nomad's player. Going over the sisters, he's now created more of that distance over the mountain. There is loads of space between them here. He's using his eyes. He's keeping an eye on how far he's got to make sure he doesn't accidentally run into a blocked position. Really good use of eyes, really good use of distance. Alex putting another point on the board for Dexterity there.
Yeah, I think we saw, we saw the Nomad Chaser fall into the trap again of just trailing behind after a missed tag. But, Alex able to put Dex in more of a lead. Now, Nomad kind of getting into that danger point.
And Leo stepping up on the chaser plate from Tiros, coming in as a chaser. He needs to get this tag at this point. And there he is coming over, flushing the front line. Alex keeping calm. Nice good steps over the sisters. Alex vaulting through the mountain. Leo choosing the center path, but I think a little too late. That clock is ticking, and the time it takes to re-engage through the center needs to be considered, I think, a little earlier in the chase cycle.
And we saw Gabin step up on the Chaser's plate just before Leo there, but then they kind of switched last second. I wonder if that was a good choice, because now Dex got 3 points. Even if Gabin gets a tag, now you're still down 3 points.
Ooh, interesting little scramble there from Gabin, and a quick tag was made. I'm not sure if Alex really had the energy and or want to continue. With a 3-0 lead, it looked like he sort of copped out there. Is that right, Jake?
Yeah, there's really something to be said about should you conserve stamina in this point, right? Again, Dex is only made up of 4 athletes. You have a 3-0 lead. I definitely say you could serve some stamina. You have Paul Fisher and Tim that still have yet to go out.
Yeah, you might as well get them on the board, on the quad at least, to get their legs moving and not cool down between matches. Paul keeping a nice center control here, not overcommitting to any of the tags early on in the... There was a tag made? Jake, did I miss that? There was a tag made?
Another hand tag on the loading bay. Just as the athletes get into it, you don't realize, because you want to kind of set yourself up. If you go too far back to the corner, you create too much space. You keep your hand on that bar to pivot yourself. But, we're seeing more and more tags happen there.
That is fantastic. Quick as lightning. I did not see it. Great snipe tag there. Paul now with the opportunity to get another point on the board by dexterity and cutting through the center to block himself over by the ridge. And then again, speeding through the front line. You don't want to hang about over the sisters. A quick pause at the tilted cube to have a standoff. Kill some of that clock. Back over the sisters to a high cover area. Out in the open again at the... Ooh, interesting dive over that front tray there. Was that a Tomin special dive I just saw?
Wow, that, yeah, really an amazing, just last-ditch effort dive over the ridge there. It looks like we are going to go to a DTR to see if it was made in time. From our perspective, you know, we have no say, me and Connor, in whether a tag was made or not. We're here kind of just watching and commentating on it like everybody else. So it's up to the refs to review the footage, look at the time, see if a tag was made. It looked like a tag might have been made in time there, though.
That would have been just, I mean, split seconds in this, really. And like you said, Jake, I think it was a last-ditch attempt. There was a really good odds on keeping that distance through the front line and coming round. As soon as Paul managed to get back by the ridge, I reckon he would have been safe. There was a sprint option here, and then here we go, Nomad pushing through the front tray. We didn't quite get the rest of that replay there. I mean, I can see players are very out of breath. That would have been a big sprint, a big jump. We got the decision here. What are we looking at, Jake?
Yeah, it looked like, you know, when we were watching it, you saw that the replay paused there because before Nomad even got over the ridge there, the 20 seconds was up. So that tag happened about half a second after the match was over. Now Nomad trail 4-0. We're already in chase 9. Gavin back up on the chaser's plate.
Yeah, and with the last match lost at 4-3, they are really going to want to win this one. We got Gavin, an absolute star player for Nomad, chasing down Paul and getting that tag with a lot of energy, a lot of conviction there by the tilted cube.
Yeah, beautiful work there by Gavin. Now, you know, again, you are down. There's only 6 chases left. You need to get points on the board, right? We did... You know, they did just lose that last match in a very heartbreaking way, right? They were leading, and then the last couple chases, they just lost. Yeah. So now, you have a fresh Tim Dexter up on the chaser's plate. You got to make something happen here.
Yeah, I mean, who saw Fakor getting a comeback in that last match? And Nomad definitely didn't. And then if anyone can make it happen, I was hoping it'd be Gavin. But Tim getting a quick sprint tag there just by the back right behind the loading bay. Nice little sprint in under the ridge, flushing him out, sprinting over. That acceleration, that is not counted on. Gavin did not expect him to move that quick, right, Jake?
Just, you know, Tim went through the ridge, head down, just started moving.
And there it is, Nomad coming in for a chase opportunity, but Tim stepping through on the ridge, a quick pause to see where his player is, sprinting through, and there's a tag made. Well, by the looks of it, unless they both just stopped for fun. There it is.
Beautiful tag. You know, you see the intensity. Just kicking the plate there. Falling out of the quad, but getting the tag before doing that. But now, all the pressure is here on Nomad. They need, again, 4 evasions. All back to back to back to back just to tie it. We have Sage up on the chaser's plate. A tag will win Dexterity Depot the match.
Nomad really having to pull it out here. Gaetan starting over by the sisters and going around the tilted cube. He's coming through the mountain, straight past the loading bay. No pause in there, but a quick pause to kill some clock at the ridge. Back to the loading bay for a safe position. Again, the ridge to kill a little bit more time. Sage not able to penetrate that ridge position, and Gaetan just jogging around the front line before slipping into an evasion on the sisters.
Yeah, that was a beautiful work there. I mean, from both competitors there, that ridge really showing as such a amazing, like, defensive, high EQ area. Because there's really not many ways to get through it. You either go straight through it, you have to go up and over, or around it. So, you know, again, though, 3 more just to tie it up.
Gaetan starting here in between the sisters. A quick pause, and then really strangely choosing to go through the center, but it's working. And... is there a tag made there?
I think a hand tag was made right as he tried to exit around to the front line, he had a hand up on that plate near the ridge. And Alex, as he was trying to, I think, turn himself around, might have just accidentally touched his hand. If we could see a replay of that, because I don't think a tag was intentionally made there. It just happened. But Dexterity win that match against Nomad 4-1. Dexterity showing a dominant performance with only 4 athletes.
Yeah, absolutely crazy here. And Dexterity obviously having played 2 matches, coming out on top twice in both of their matches with 4 points. That's 8 points on the board for Dexterity. They must be very pleased with this. Jake, was super impressed. Both, once again, we've got Nomad using Gavin in the first match a lot. He's used up a lot of energy in that first match, a couple of slip and slides going on there. And then to come in on this second match and to, again, overutilize Gavin, I can see that they really know he's a star player. To use him so much must be a tactic where they're trying to get at least some momentum with him before using some other players.
Yeah, you know, we've seen this in the past with like very strong players on teams. You know, I always like to attribute that, you know, we saw Kyle Soderman on Hollywood. Every single time Hollywood was up, you would always see Kyle Soderman in. Now in the later times, in the later events, you know, you see him playing more of a defensive position because he's such a good tagger. He's an amazing evader, but he's a very good tagger as well. But now you have people on the team like Kai Baldwin that are also able to just get those evasions and get those tags. So you can't really rely on an individual.
Go. Setting up, keeping athletes warm there on the chaser plate. Looks like Rooftop Kings are off to wearing jumpers, making sure everything stays good and warm, ready for the next matchup. We have the last team. Dexterity is the first team to have played 2 matches in this tournament here in Malaga. Rooftop Kings coming up on the second team to be able to play 2 matches. America also leaving 0-0 on both of their matches. Dexterity walking away with 4 points on their first and 4 points on their last. Very consistent. We'll see what Rooftop Kings can do here today. Foucault flushing out on a low line, but Rooftop Kings staying up nice and high until reaching the ground. The problem obviously with reaching the ground there is the car are ready to get you. A little bit of acceleration on the ground, whereas if you're up high, especially with the slippy conditions, it can be hard to keep the speed. Charlie starting as the cause player by the ridge with an opportunity to evade, and team captain Red One stepping up on the chaser plate. Red One flushing through the ridge here and speeding over to the mountain, round the tilted cube, almost getting a tag there and almost on the front line again, but Charlie doing really well to keep the distance until the loading bay, and there the tag is made. Good run of it. What do you think, Jake?
Yeah, Red One, you know, like we said, possibly falling into that unfortunate trailing behind. You know, we saw it, but he was so close. So, like, you can't really help it at sometimes. Scrambling through center court, scrambling through the front line, but able to dart through the loading bay and get the tag. I mean, rapid fashion, too.
Yeah, and the trouble with scrambling, obviously, in these conditions is with that slippiness. You're just all hands and knees. It's really hard to keep any traction. We have Antoine here from Foucault stepping up to the chaser plate to get Red One, pushing him out of the mountain, keeping that center control, going a little high as a chaser. Antoine with the beanie there, stepping through onto the loading bay. Nice slide, and there the tag is made. 2 tags in a row made over by this loading bay.
Yeah, again, just like full commit dive through the loading bay, you know, penguin sliding right across the board, like very quickly as well, might I add. I mean, beautiful work by Antoine, keeping the score all tied up 0-0.
Dan Van Diesel stepping up for Rooftop Kings on the chaser plate to see if he can make that a 1-0. He has got a chase on for Antoine, and there is a very rapid tag made with a little slip and slide at the end down by the loading bay.
Yeah, these 2 teams, you know, no strangers to one another now, especially after the Rotterdam chase off last week. Roger, you know, one of a key player on Foucault, but also you have Dan. You know, we've said so many people have talked about him. throughout all of the event last week. One of the star players. Let's see how they go against each other.
Roger, classically amazing at evasions for Fakar, sorry, but not always the strongest tag player. So we'll see if Dan can capitalize on that. Dan has got a good bit of distance here at the halfway point of the chase with a quick slip, unfortunately making that a tag. I would have liked to see where he would have gone if there wasn't a slip there, but Roger getting the tag, also putting himself in the hot seat for a evasion opportunity.
Yeah, unfortunate slipping there. You know, you do see a lot of the athletes taking it a little bit more gently through the quad because there is a bit of moisture here and there. We are trying to clean it. There is grip tape applied to a lot of the obstacles to try to keep it as safe as possible.
Yeah, Bent stepping up on the chaser plate with a very quick start and choosing the center line there to keep some control of his player as he slides under the mountain and gets the tag on Roger.
Yeah, Bent, another very strong player on Rooftop Kings. We saw him a lot last week, getting a lot of snipe tags when they needed it the most. And, you know, another star player that allowed Rooftop Kings to, you know, keep their lead last week and secure the win.
Young Charlie stepping up, 16 years old, playing with the adults here on the chaser plate, stepping into the arena and trying to hunt down Bent as he has made a quick flush of the mountain all the way around to the front line, and Bent stopping quickly by the loading bay there at the back. Again, scrambling underneath the mountain. Quick double lap here. This is 2 full laps of the quad to keep that distance the whole time, which has given him the first evasion of this match.
Yeah, you know, double lap around may not be the smartest choice sometimes, but if your chaser is just staying behind you and you know you have the speed and the technique to just get up and over obstacles, keep them behind you the whole time. Just keep doing those laps, keep your pace. You know, you're going to burn a little bit of stamina, but for Rooftop Kings, it worked for them.
Antoine stepping in for Fakar to see if he can get some redemption here from his teammate, and he is choosing that center to try and close the distance. A quick bit of acceleration there. Lovely Kong by Bent over the mountain table there. Quick juke by the loading bay, slide tag attempt but not made over the sisters, keeping that distance over the front line for the second in a row. Do you think we might be able to see another hat trick here today, Jake?
I mean, if anybody's going to do it, it is Bent, but you do have Roger up on the chaser's plate for Fakar. And like you said, one of the better taggers that Fakar has. So I don't know if a hat trick is in Rooftop Kings' future, but you know, Bent, I'm sure, will try his best to do it.
We'll see. Obviously, back-to-back rounds like this, especially Bent having the tag first to get the evasion opportunity, can make you tired. Roger thinking he could have got that first tag attempt. There might be 2 more in the tank, but the clock is running low. Roger flushing him out and getting that second attempt there just as Bent was vaulting over the sisters. Great tag there made by Roger.
Yeah, Bent, I want to really spotlight what Bent was doing there. He kept looking towards the sisters and kind of like putting his head down as if he was really going to go to the sisters, and it kept Roger on his feet the whole time. But Roger, you know, kudos to him, didn't really fall for the trap, just stayed on the tilted cube and waited for his moment to strike.
Talking of waiting, Roger classically choosing his starting position, sat down by the ridge, chilling, recovering, and now he's quick on his feet, and those feet are moving so quickly. A little bit of idling there, being able to jitter your feet left and right to show that you are still in motion but not necessarily moving anywhere. It creates a place where the chaser is unsure if you're going to exit left or right on any given obstacle.
Yeah, I mean, loading bay is such a dangerous obstacle to be abiding time in, right? Because the more time you waste there, the closer that chaser gets to you. And that's a lot of the tags that we see there is just too much time spent.
Antoine versus Dan from Rooftop Kings. Rooftop Kings starting off by the ridge, getting a second line of defense underneath the mountain. All with a unfortunate slip on the border there of the quad, just as he's trying to round the corner by the tilted cube. Red One stepping up for Rooftop Kings, team captain and gym owner of the same gym that they were competing in, all of the teams at last weekend's chase-off. Obviously down here in Malaga today, teams trying to stay fit, healthy, safe, and trying to put all on the line to compete here today and come out with a win. Red One doing really well, stepping up on the sisters, flushing through the center. Antoine able to keep that distance round the loading bay, under the mountain, through the tilted cube with a quick pause. Love seeing the pause to show he knows where his chaser is. A tag attempt made by Red One on the front line, but not quite. And there by the loading bay, again, a tag attempt, but not sure if it was made. Red One asking for a DTR. Actually requesting a DTR this time. That's good to see the players have got a good understanding of the rule set.
Yeah, Red One very close in many instances there in that chase. But right there at the end, darting towards the loading bay. I don't know if a tag was made. It's going to be pretty tough to tell. But again, a DTR for anybody that came in. Disputed tag review. The referees will look at and review the footage of that last match, all the camera angles we have, and decide if a tag was made where the chaser is saying that it was made. Now, again, it is all on the chaser to make your tag as noticeable as possible. And even if you miss, keep going with the chase, because if those cameras don't see it and the referees don't see it, you know, if you stop, like we saw before with one of the matches, an evasion will be given.
Yeah, and this is the third disputed tag review we've seen here in today's Malaga chase-off. We have seen the first one of Fakor calling it, a nice little DTR there on the second match, and then Dexterity got one called against them with Sage winning, knowing that she did not get the tag. Here, we are getting a ref decision here once you have a quick look at the footage, and then we'll come out with whether or not that was a tag or an evasion. We got players voting for the evasion symbol being both arms up there and the tag being arms crossed symbol. We got some votes of confidence there from the players, Jake.
Yeah, always good to see all the players and even spectators get involved, you know, really showing that they are watching this match and they also understand the rules. Get a little bit of opinions too, because, you know, who's better to see if who's better to call if something like that happens than the people watching it live there.
Yeah, definitely. Who's better to see based on who's closest to it? Hopefully the head ref is closer to it, because I feel like there might be a little bit of bias coming in from some of the players. If it's your own team, you always want the disputed tag review to go your way. What are we seeing here, Jake? What do you think?
It looks like another hand tag right as he let go of the loading bay. Very close, but it does look like a tag might have been made.
Tag secured there. Head ref has decided that after reviewing this footage, we come out with a tag being made, which gives Rooftop Kings the opportunity now to get on the board. Another evasion. It's not an immediate evasion for them, but it does mean the tag was made, which means Red One can be in the hot seat. And what's more, he's had all that time to stay fresh and be ready for a next evasion attempt. Quick feet here by Red One. Esteban, the team captain of Fakor, keeping his wits about him, keeping him on high pressure alert. Red One's putting the hands on the ground for a quick bit of scrambling, and then there's the tag.
Ooh, and Red One looks like he might have gotten an injury somewhere on his shoulder. Might have pulled his shoulder out.
Initially, I thought that was a quick joke by Red One. He's been known to be a bit of a joker on the quad, but it does look to be something a bit more serious. The joke I thought was that Esteban tagged him so hard that it looked like he hurt himself. But I don't think it was the tag that's hurt his shoulder. This can't be any of his, what did you call it earlier, Jake? Clip farming?
Clip farming, yeah. He did say he wanted to clip farm. I mean, this would be quite the opposite. If it is, you know, I could speak from prior experience of myself having shoulder dislocations. Hopefully not, because that would, you know, put Red One in a very bad position to keep competing.
For sure. Bent now stepping up for Rooftop Kings to see if he can get done what team captain Red One could not. He's now got to get a tag and then again an evasion. We're coming up to the last few chases of this 16 chase match. Chase 14 is pivotal in being able to get some points. Otherwise, it will be match point given to team Rooftop Kings. And there it is. Sorry, I got a little confused there at the end. I thought there was a tag made, but it was made a couple of seconds after. Rooftop Kings taking the tag means that Esteban has not got the opportunity to get any comeback there, and Rooftop Kings walk away 2-0 on top.
Another hand tag as well to close out the match there. You know, again, we talk about knowing where you are on the quad, but also knowing where like your hands and feet are also very important. Using the bars to kind of jut yourself around some of these corners, keep momentum, and really pull yourself is super beneficial. But as good as it is, it comes with its drawbacks. If you can't get your hands off those bars quick enough, you know, they're going to get tagged. I know when I'm on the quad, I look for those moments, because if you have just enough speed, if you can't tag their body, most likely you could tag their hand if you're close enough.
For sure, we've got to make sure any tag is being made, obviously safely. There are a few rules stipulating making sure that there aren't any aggressive tags such as punches. We shouldn't be aiming for the head. There should never be any sort of, what you see in martial arts, like eye gouging situations. I don't think we should be seeing any of these in tags. But a tag must be made with the hand. No feet tag are allowed. For obvious reasons, we don't want to see any karate kicks going down on the quad here or in any other comp.
Yeah, and, you know, Rooftop Kings able to right now tie up in first. If you see the standings there on the left, they, you know, played their matches, they won their matches, same as Dexterity. So now they actually have the same amount of matches played, the same amount of points for winning both those matches. If you win, it counts as 3 points in the overall standings. And between their matches, they have 7 points from evasions without any tags against them. So they're fully tied up. Now, we will see it if they face each other and they're still tied up in the end, which I believe we should see them face each other, which will be the last match of the night. So if they're still tied up after their next 2 matches, if they're really tied up like this, the match between them will actually be the final. And right now, with how both Dexterity Depot and Rooftop Kings have been playing, honestly, Connor, I have no doubt that they might be the 2 in the first and second place.
Yeah, very strong contenders here at the Malaga Chase-Off. A quick shout out to B3 Sportstainment for hosting this event. As we can see, there's not just the World Chase Tag quad setup, but a huge parkour area too, which I'm sure a lot of the athletes have had fun on in between their training for this here comp. So far, we can see so many teams have put a lot on the quad. I think every team has had 2 goes on the quad so far, except for Team Nomad, which obviously will be coming up next against Murcia. Murcia, unfortunately, at the bottom of that league, 0-0 in both of their matches. But obviously, we've got Rooftop Kings, like you said, Jake, coming out real strong with 5 evasions on their first match there, and then 2 more evasions later on. If it's still a draw between Rooftop and Dexterity in regards to the points for a win by the end of the tournament, it will come down to evasions, and then we'll really see who's been putting in the work in each of their competitions.
Yeah, and just an update on Red One there. We do have the medical staff still looking at his shoulder. It does seem like it might have been a shoulder dislocation, although I hope not. Again, speaking from experience, it's not a fun thing to deal with. And if Rooftop Kings loses Red One, I mean, that might be a very bad situation for them. But we need to make sure all the athletes are safe.
Yeah, it's a tough one, really. I saw the rankings. I saw who was who against who on the lead-up. And for me, one of the pivotal matches here in regards to not knowing who would come out on top was Thakor versus Rooftop. That last match, that match 5 out of 10. It really will come down to who's got the most points by the end, but we saw those 2 teams go highly competitive against each other and not sure who would come out on top. If Rooftop manages to come out on top, which they did, if they've lost Red One in the process of that, I think that's going to really affect what they can do later on in their upcoming 2 more matches. Obviously, they've got Nomad to go against later on, and finally, they've got to keep something in the tank for Dexterity, so hopefully Rooftop can do that. But meanwhile, we're setting up for Murcia versus Nomad. This is the Spanish team that are semi-local. I mean, 400 kilometers isn't a stone's throw away, but they've driven down to Malaga here for some competition versus Nomad, which are heralding out of France. Strong competitive team from France. And we have Carlos stepping up to the chaser plate for Murcia to try and hunt down Nomad. Nomad keeping the distance, making a good bit of movement there, and away to the ridge for a little bit of blockage, and then to the loading bay, back to the ridge, but oh, there was a tag attempt made, but it was not given. Carlos threading through the ridge on the opposite side and finally going for that last tag attempt there by the front line, but a little too late.
Yeah, right now, Connor, you know, we saw Nomad, they you know, lose to Dexterity Depot last, right? And they also lost to Fakal in their first match as well, where Fakal came back right at the end, and I believe they were able to beat them in the standings there, you know, but Murcia also lost their last 2 matches, so both these teams have something to prove.
Yeah, Leo here as an evader for, oh, there it is, not so much anymore. Leo getting tagged there by Murcia, and unfortunately stepping off the quad a little bit early, not able to get that second in a row evasion.
Yeah, just not able to get through the center of the mountain quick enough and gets tagged.
Huge Kong there. To get out of the mountain is absolutely brutal. It feels like you're trapped if you want to exit in that way. Massive jump, massive Kong. Nomad stepping up into a chase position there, and Murcia, Carlos is doing real well to get some side steps, and then, oh, a quick slip, but he's underneath the ridge and he's maintained that distance. I think there's a little slip up again, but he's still made that distance, and he's coming up to the last 2 seconds now. If he can make this happen underneath the mountain, huge cheer from the Spanish audience there.
He lost his shoe.
That was 1 shoe down halfway through the chase, huh?
He lost his shoe in the front line and was able to make it possibly all the way through to get an evasion.
Well, it looks like if players are already slipping, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king, you know? He's already getting slipping about, so he might as well take the shoe off and just go straight for sock grip. Classic.
Oh my.
This might be the new tech, Jake. They might all start throwing their shoe off just to get a little bit more grip on the slippery surfaces we're working here today.
We are going to check to see if a tag was made late, though, because that timer was running dangerously close to 20 seconds here. But you're going to see right here underneath, running with 1 shoe on.
Whoa. Big reach there. Big reach. But has it been made? Has contact been made? I mean, contact definitely was made in regards to a tag, but what we're looking at in regards to the timing.
I don't know. You see it right there. The evasion is tied to the timer. And it looked like there was not a tag made, but we will see from the referees if one was made.
Looks like we might have gone into another DTR situation. 1, 2, 3, 4th DTR of this evening on the 6th match. Quite a few disputes going on here today to make sure we've come out with the right result. We want to make sure the players are clear in getting that tag in under 20 seconds. If the tag is made even 0.001 seconds over the timer, we cannot count that as a tag. That is obviously an evasion for Murcia. And I'm hoping, Jake, personally, Murcia have got that first point. Let's see what's going to happen.
Yeah, I believe so as well. From what we look like, we're about to check the result.
Whoa, there we go. Wow. Evasion, first point on the board. Murcia getting 1 point in at this 6th competition, the 6th match of this competition, sorry. Murcia versus Nomad, and they've come out with 1-all so far.
Connor, I wonder is that the first 1 shoe evasion we've ever seen?
Quite likely. I've seen laces explode before on the quad, but I'm not sure if the shoes have always gone flying. And let's see, now we've got 1 point on the board. Murcia might be able to start with this momentum. We have an opportunity for a second evasion, a quick little juke here, open, but he's stuck out in the open. Has he made that? But no, underneath the mountain, closing the distance there. There is the tag made by Nomad.
A lot of scrambling there in the tilted cube. You know, a lot of people think like the one side of the tilted cube is completely open. But you see a lot of players, instead of kind of swinging around that open space, they try to dart through the tiny bars that are set up on the far end of the quad. And if you don't get that tag, you're all tied up in those bars.
Yeah, it's a tough spot to be in. We have a little bit of an impasse here by the loading bay, but he's able to sprint round, get underneath the sisters, sliding those hands on the ground to show the lack of friction. Just able to run straight through. A little pause and a standoff at the ridge. Need to flush out your player at the ridge to make sure it's going to happen. Quick sprint through the front line, and there is another evasion on the board for Nomad, making it 2-1.
Yeah, that was beautiful work there, done by the evader. You know, like you said, sliding his hands under the sisters. You heard it. The lack of friction under the sisters, but able to regain the lead after Mercia brought it back. Now they lead 2-1 going into chase 6.
I believe this is Gaeton by Nomad being able to make the evasion attempt here, coming around the tilted cube and then stopping off underneath the sisters. Again, that hands on the ground for the sliding. Got loads of space between him and Mercia's player on the front line, jutting back across the front line to keep that distance nice and high. And a quick standoff by the lazy boy before sliding to victory underneath the sisters.
Wow, bringing it up now 3-1. You see him, he's gassed right now. And truthfully, if I'm in this position, you got one job, right? You either are going to get another evasion, right? You're going to lead 4-1, or you try to tire out the chaser as much as possible. You got a little bit of padding to work with, and your team would just have to play defense.
Nice style coming in from Mercia, getting Pedro vaulting over that first frontline obstacle. And Gaeton, sorry, getting caught out in the open by Pedro. Nice tag there on the front line, giving Mercia an odds in the game to possibly get a point on this board. Pedro's got to be breathing in between these rounds. We obviously have 20 seconds of action in World Chase Tag and about the same on the rest period. How long is it exactly, Jake? Is it 20 or 30 seconds these athletes are getting in between?
I believe they've shortened it down to 20, and in some cases it could be even 15 in other competitions. So really no time to rest.
Yeah, hard work. Lewis here from Nomad, keeping the center control while putting some pressure on Pedro, but the clock is ticking and he's going to need to get a tag opportunity at some point. There's one, but Pedro making it happen, has vaulted twice over the sisters to get that evasion, not even knowing where Lewis is, just really rapidly getting those bunny hop vaults out of the sisters there.
Wow, so close. I mean, just both competitors really not knowing where they were, kind of maybe making some panic decisions there, but it worked out. And now Mercia, you know, bringing it back, only down 1 point now, but we do have Gabin in, and you know, Gabin is pretty fresh right now.
Yeah, you can see Gabin like clicking his neck as he gets up to the starter plate, being like, all right, fine, I'll deal with this myself. Gabin pushing him through the center, and then there's a quick step down, but their tag is made on Pedro just by the sisters. Before Pedro could choose, am I going to go up and am I going to go down? He's just stuck there at the sisters.
And Gabin, you see him looking at the cameraman saying, hey, this is the spot where I normally start. I'm going to need you to move. You know, that classic spot up on the sisters. We've seen it in the other matches and doing it pretty well.
Yeah, Gabin keeping himself calm. A quick little wipe down of the sisters. We can see that humidity there, absolutely atrocious. But you can only do what you can do, and you can only stay as safe as you can stay. Gabin stepping over by the front line. Quick little sprint there. Pause at the ridge. Really good fast feet here by Gabin, showing that he might move left, might move right, and then there is a quick sprint over to the loading bay for a bit of higher EQ, and then the clock is right there on his side to get a nice calm win at the end for that 20-second evasion by Gabin.
Yeah, now Nomad lead by 2 points here. You know, Chase 11, you know, Mercia, they got to make something happen. You know, they need a point on the overall leaderboard too. You know, maybe first or second might be out of reach now with teams like Rooftop Kings and Dexterity, but you still want points on there for the ranking.
Yeah, they came here to play and they want to play hard. I haven't seen them get disheartened, and they're putting in everything they've got to try and get these tags made. If nothing else, a good bit of experience here from a quite low experienced team. It's their first time doing an event like this. They've got that tag on Gabin at the back of the loading bay though, which is good news for them to get that evasion opportunity possibly in the next round.
Yeah, Gabin, I mean, just trying to move around making a last-second decision just a little too late and gets the tag. Not keeping the eye on the chaser is one of the most pivotal things that will get you tagged.
Gaeton stepping up from Nomad here, flushing out Mercia's player. Quick little sidestep, and there is a tag attempt made, but not quite. Again, cutting into the middle to keep his player on the corner, but it did not work. Mercia making a really good distance to keep calm and stay at the tilted cube, get back some recovery. Couple of sidesteps, open juke. Was it made? But it looks like a tag was made on 19.99. I've got here on the board. Crazy tags,
we lost another shoe? He only had one shoe on towards the end of this. Look at it.
2 shoes are overrated.
2 shoes are overrated, but a beautiful dive. Last-ditch dive. You know, an evasion will win the match for Nomad in Chase 13.
This does bring us into match point with Gaeton stepping up. Really strong player, training with Parkour 59 at their gym regularly, and he's got his hands on those bars. I'm seeing a snipe tag opportunity, but it hasn't happened. Gaeton stepping under the sisters and then sauntering off by the tilted cube, really staying calm, keeping his breath, and there's the evasion. I think that is the calmest evasion I've seen here this night. Props to Gaeton for bringing it home for Nomad and winning 5-2.
I mean, Gaeton there got most, if not all, of the points there in that match, right? He got the 2 back-to-back early on. He was gassed even then. We saw it. But able to close it out with a tag and an evasion at the end was huge for him. You know, Nomad getting some points now on the board. Right now, Mercia, again, in the bottom spot there. You see the standings on the side, the 5 teams. Dex, Rooftop Kings tied with 6. You have Fakar and Nomad now tied with 3, but Fakar has only played 2 matches. Nomad just played their 3rd. So if Fakar can win this next match, that puts them even further above Nomad, and Mercia trailing underneath them all. 3 matches played with 0 points on the board. We do have an update from Red One. It seems like his shoulder is okay. He has dislocated it in the past. He's not worried about it, but we may not see him on the quad for the rest of the night. Now, does that prove to be something bad for Rooftop Kings? They are only in this with a limited amount of players. Now, you just lost a star player, and you still have to play against Team Nomad, who just won, and then against Dexterity Depot, who you're tied with in 1st. I mean, Connor, that might, seal the deal for them, but I've been so wrong before about things like this. And honestly, I'm happy to be wrong again, because if they can win again with even less players, that's huge.
Yeah, I mean, they've really got an uphill battle to play. Like you say, I think Rooftop, with 2 players coming in, they've obviously got Dan Van Dissel and Bent being able to really push the boundaries of what 2 players can do, where they would usually be 6 to a team in World Chase Tag. So we've got 4 players down, effectively, with Red One out. We'll see. I mean, if that shoulder has been relocated and he's feeling good with it, I've played practice rounds with Red One before. I've seen him click fingers back into place. He's a hardcore athlete, Jake. This guy might choose, just for the fun of it, to jump back on the quad and give it a shot. If nothing else, just to put a little bit of pressure on another player.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, if I know, if I'm up against him and I know what just happened, or I heard the update that he popped his shoulder out, but he gets back up on the chaser's plate to go after me, that's going to put me into I think this person might be crazy, actually. I need to get away from them, and now the pressure is really on.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than being hunted down by someone that you are genuinely scared of. It's not just about the points, the tags, or the evasions at that point. It is actually a prey versus predator situation.
Yeah, and in between the chases here, again, you see a lot of the athletes, a lot of helpers as well, cleaning off the quad, making sure everything is safe. We did have a moment before where the quad was getting just a little too wet, based on the location, based where this event is being held. Moisture is in the air, humidity, it gets on all the obstacles. The quad is just metal and wood, so any bit of moisture makes it pretty unsafe for the athletes. So in between the matches, we are taking the time to make sure that everything is as dry as can possibly be and that it is safe for all the athletes. And you also see the athletes being told, hey, be careful, pace yourselves. Don't go all out because it can be dangerous.
Yeah, for sure, especially on some of these flatter platforms. If we're doing some highline techniques or we're landing on a flat platform. Obviously, we've seen a classic technique, the penguin slide, go down a few times. This technique becomes even easier when it's slightly humid insofar as the event today here in Malaga. But we want to get the acceleration, and it's really hard to create acceleration. As we saw shoes flying off, we saw people slipping onto their bums. It's going to be hard to keep on your feet and to keep the acceleration going to see if they can get those points on the board. We've now got the next rock, paper, scissors. And it looks like Esteban takes it home for Fakor. The next match will be Fakor versus Dexterity Depot.
Yeah, and I mean, as of right now, we've seen a dominant performance from Dexterity Depot. You know, these two teams, no strangers to one another. They played against each other last week at the Rotterdam Chase-Off, but now this seems to be a different Dexterity Depot than we saw last week as well. Again, maybe they had a chip on their shoulder, and they're here to win. You know, Alex Mosley really being a heavy hitter right now, getting back-to-back evasions, getting very quick tags. Let's see if they can keep in and possibly get more points for themselves if they can overcome Fakal.
Yeah, both teams setting up with a roster of 4 players to each side. Sage setting up on the chaser plate for Dexterity, getting onto the quad, and Charlie making a quick break for it by the tilted cube. Juking over to the open side of the tilted cube, sliding underneath, and then he's all the way by the ridge before you know it. Stopping off by the ridge, Sage is able to flush him out by threading between the bars. She's stepping up for a bit of center control, again threaded, but Charlie's made a good bit of distance there to get that first evasion on the board by Fakor on the first match. Lucky they won that rock, paper, scissors, right, Jake?
Yeah, I mean, to go up and evade and get a point in the opening match is huge. Sage, you know, just on the outside of being able to get a tag, especially there in the Lazy Boy. She wasn't able to close the distance. Fakal played that perfectly. You know, now we have Alex Mosley up on the Chasers plate, and they do trail 1-0.
And as regards to the tournament, Alex is obviously doing really well so far for Dexterity. He's able to hunt down the younger player, Charlie, and keep that pressure on. He's right-tailing him all the way behind him as he goes through, cutting off options by the tilted cube, taking the high line through the center until there's a tag opportunity and a quick slip to get that tag just in time by the sisters. Very close for Charlie, almost to get another evasion back-to-back for Fakor. But Alex does the job, gets the tag, and gets an opportunity for an evasion.
Yeah, good work there by Alex, too. Fell into the trap of trailing behind. Maybe he thought he could just outspeed Charlie there, but able to get the tag. Now we have Antoine up on the Chasers plate, you know, to hopefully get a snipe tag and keep Fakal in this lead.
Alex having none of it, stepping away all the way through to the mountain and getting round to the tilted cube. He's keeping his eyes on his opponent. Really good tactics here to be able to know where your opponent is over the ridge. Seemed like a bit of the high wall, sorry, not the ridge, but it seemed like a bit of a time in the air, not able to accelerate if you're in the air. Seemed like a bit of a mistake there to go high, not low. Could have sped up under a little bit quicker.
Yeah, I think he realized that Antoine was going up over that platform on the ridge, and maybe if he didn't take that outside line, he would have been too close to him. So I do agree with you. Going over the ridge might have killed some momentum there, but now you have Paul Fisher up to try to, you know, get Fakal out of this evader plate.
Ooh, and a quick slip by Antoine over by the sisters, and Paul doing a huge dive tag there, even scorpioning himself outside of the quad. Tag was made, contact is good. Paul looks safe and good to go, but that was a big dive by Paul.
Yeah, big dive by Paul. I mean, props to Antoine, though, there. Slipped on the sisters immediately in the opening seconds here. We're going to see it again. But was able to recover, cut back, and then go for it again. But Paul just able to get the tag, again, almost scorping himself outside the quad.
Yeah, fantastic recovery. Roger stepping up for Fakor and very quickly threading through the ridge and keeping that center control. Paul resetting down by the Lazy Boy on the left, going across front line to the right and back to the loading bay. He's able to stop, keep an eye on Roger, and then push himself through the tilted cube. Good timing so far. Great slide, using the humidity to his advantage and under the high wall for that evasion. It is now 1-1. This is the match to look out for. We are 7 matches in for tonight, and Dexterity really have to bring it forward to try and beat Fakor if they are in with a chance of bringing the top points for the whole tournament by the end.
Yeah, we see Charlie back up on the Chasers plate for call. Match is all tied up again. Let's see which team can get the edge out here.
Yeah, and 4v4, you've really got to be careful not to put in the same players too many times to wear them out. Obviously, Charlie being young, having a lot of energy, his recovery rate is really good. Paul keeping his eyes and doing a great job of evading here through the center, threading through, back by the ridge, quick step on the side, a border, and a really good stride, even in that humid conditions, over the Sisters to get 2 in a row. Very impressed here by Paul from Dexterity Depot.
Yeah, big smiles on the face from Charlie as well. I mean, you love to see the sportsmanship. We have Roger back up on the Chasers plate. Paul putting Dex in a 1-point lead, though, as we near the halfway point of this match. Very tight match so far.
Smiles to the end, but stamps for the start. Roger looking like he has some aggression in him. He wants to get fast, he wants to get that tag, and he wants to save the day for his team. They have got to start getting these points in, otherwise Paul will be able to keep the momentum. And there the tag was made in the loading bay. Paul conceding to it, being like, yep, fair dues. Nice little tag. And then Roger taking his classic starting position, recovering down by the high wall behind the ridge.
Yeah, I mean, again, you really have no time in between these chases. If you can get a quick tag, that's great. Take your rest. If the chase goes on a little longer, you know, you need to get that stamina back. But now you have a fresh Tim Dexter up on the Chasers plate.
Tim sauntering in nice and slow over the front line. Roger with a quick little slip, but he's making good moves there. Quick little juke, showing that he might go into the front, but not so much. Hiding with a low line underneath the Sisters. Got good cover there. Quick sprint by both players underneath the mountain, but Roger's got the advantage on the front line. Quick stop to second guess himself, and this gave him that advantage because he was in control of the momentum of that chase. Great chase pace control by Roger.
Yeah, Tim being a bit cautious there on the front line, maybe a little too cautious. You know, obviously, again, you don't want to get hurt. The match is all tied up now, but, you know, did spend a lot of time just kind of waiting around and waiting for your strike.
Last couple of rounds of this mid-game of 16 chases. We're on chase 9 now, and Alex stepping up for Depot to try and save the day and get their advantage. There is 2-all, a very evenly matched, highly competitive match here. Roger doing a great little step by the front line, and unfortunately the tag being made against him. Alex doing really well there at the loading bay to get a quick tag round the corner.
Yeah, great work by Roger there, right? Just keeping his eyes on, but Alex just able to put the jets on, get him into one of those corners, get the tag. We do have Esteban up now. Now, this is a very interesting matchup with Alex on the evader plate. Both people have very long reaches, but I will say Alex thrives in much tighter areas.
Esteban, Esteban very used to being able to get in between these bars and threading, and I was just seeing what he was doing there, and it was indeed a thread out of a ridge to get across the center and get the final tag against Alex all the way over by the tilted cube. Quick tag there. How much does a quick tag give an advantage to the next round, Jake?
Oh, I mean, an advantage is, you know, I think undercutting it there. You get a quick tag, that's exactly what you need, right? They may not put in the same person to come and get you, and you save a lot of stamina.
Brilliant. Esteban stepping as team captain on the Sisters as a start. Paul from Team Dexterity coming in with a really good Tiger start with a tag attempt but not made. Esteban pausing over by the loading bay and then getting covered by the ridge. Quick little back steps there, not choosing which decision he's going to make. Paul trying to close the distance and tailing him all the way to the tilted cube. And we've got an evasion again by Esteban. Great work to bring them 3-2 as we come into the end game now. 12 chases out of 16 total.
Yeah, and Dexterity right now getting into an area where they might be a bit uncomfortable. They are down a point. If they lose this match, that means Rooftop Kings can get another win and be ahead of them in the overall leaderboard.
Yeah, this match 7 was never going to be easy. For Core, very good at what they do. Dexterity, very good at what they do. So we'll see who comes out on top. It's not over till it's over. And here Esteban is stepping off the quad, having been tagged.
Yeah, you see Tim Dexter absolutely burning the jets there, knowing, I think before, I played it too safe. I wasted too much time. But he did keep a lot of stamina there. With a quick tag as well, they do trail 1-0 into Chase 13. So let's see if Tim can maybe find the equalizer.
someone that is not known for keeping it safe. Roger is going to come in fast and quick, closing off positions. Real easy thread there through the tilted cube with a tag attempt made in those first few seconds, missed by Tim. Tim able to keep himself away until there is another quick tag made into the center. Great work there by Fakao, which means they now have an opportunity. If Roger can get the next evasion by Fakao, they're going to be match point and taking home that win. 3-2. Tim steps up on the chaser plate for Team Dexterity. Sorry, Alex steps up on the chaser plate for Team Dexterity. He has got to get this tag or it's all over for them on this game. Alex, quick vault and closing distance quickly, but not quite enough. Roger making a break for it, keeping himself blocked by the tilted cube. Needs to get out of there quicker than that. There we go. Good bit of distance underneath a high wall. Quick sprint off of the border, but a tag was made on the front line. Oh, close stuff though, right up to the last seconds.
Yeah, really, Roger, you know, really just moving. Like, legs just didn't stop the whole time, but Alex able to stay on his tail perfectly, getting the tag. But now Alex needs an evasion just to tie it up. If a tag is made against him, Fakal will take the win from them.
Yeah, from match point to match point, it is still match point because the only way to get a point in World Chase Tag is for Alex now to get that evasion. He's got the opportunity to get the evasion. Will he get it? Antoine going for a tag there, but missing by a finger's breadth. And then some nice strides, but there is a nice tag made on the front line. Antoine bringing it home for Fakor, getting a tag, closing down that opportunity for an evasion, and making it Fakor winning 3-2. Is that right?
Yeah, Fakar did win 3-2 there. Got a win over Dex. Now, mind you, Dex are still tied in first with Rooftop Kings. They do have one more match played, though, than Rooftop Kings. We will see Rooftop Kings up against Nomad now. Now, if they can beat Nomad, Rooftop Kings will lead the overall leaderboards by a wide margin, right? If Nomad beats Rooftop Kings, Dexterity and Rooftop Kings are still tied, and I don't believe anybody will be in contention for them. So this next match, Nomad and Rooftop Kings, is a very important one. Will we see Redwan in it? I don't believe so. He did say he's going to play it safe, you know, doesn't want to risk injuring the shoulder anymore. You see the standings here on the side, and we still have Fakar now tied up as well with Rooftop Kings and Dexterity. So this next match, Nomad and Rooftop Kings, is very important for them.
Yeah, Fakar did real well to get back from that loss against Rooftop Kings and get the win over Dexterity. They've shown that they are definitely high contenders in this match. And now Rooftop have really got, like I say, an uphill battle because they're against Nomad with more players on Nomad's team than the Rooftop Kings. It'll be really hard to cycle through their players and keep the energy high and make them come out on top. Players making sure they're staying nice and warm in between these matches. We've got a temperature report from the on grounds here. B3 Sportainment have set up these grounds. They're doing really well to keep things as safe as they can, but we do have a high drop in temperature. It was sweating earlier, and now everyone's just about getting over 10 degrees. Super chilly out there, and all of the teams are doing really well to keep warm in between. Gavin setting up through the ridge, a nice little flush there, and closing down on, almost getting the tag, and there's one more opportunity to get the tag, but an evasion is on the board for Rooftop Kings. Fantastic work there by Bent. Sorry, Dan Van Dissel.
Both just rapidly moving throughout the quad there. Rooftop Kings able to lead early on 1-0. I mean, against Gavin as well. That's a great way to open up a match.
And we now have, we have Dan Van Dissel doing some really good juking at the back line, but unfortunately getting tagged there. And Nomad setting up now for an evasion opportunity. See if they can get back what they once lost. Bent on the chaser plate for Rooftop Kings. It's only going to be Bent versus Bent and Dan stepping up for Rooftop Kings on their side. Gaeton starting underneath the sisters, making a quick break for it around the tilted cube and through the mountain. He's stopping by the loading bay, a quick little bit of idling there, and then back through with an unfortunate slip on that vault, causing the tag to be made.
And Rooftop Kings get the tag. They start his evading team. It's 1-0 to them.
And Gavin back up now on the Chasers plate. Again, both teams really only running with a limited amount of members. Rooftop Kings, I don't believe that was Dan we saw in the beginning. It looks like they do have a third competitor as well. I don't know quite who that is, but we do have Bent up evading, Gavin up on the Chasers plate.
Gavin doing a quick thread through to put the pressure on and stepping down on his man, trying to get the tag, cutting back through to the center to re-engage. Another tag opportunity there on the front line. Doesn't look like he made it. Stepping again through the loading bay, quick little thread. High line to keep the space between them. A slide tag attempt underneath the tilted cube, but it does not look like it's made. And that is another evasion on the board. Great work by Bent from Rooftop Kings.
Yeah, beautiful work, right? Gavin doing everything right, doing all the dives that he needs to try to close down the gap. I thought a tag was made on top of the mountain there, but Ben able to just get the distance he needed when jumping down, you know, putting Rooftop Kings in the lead 2-0.
Gaeton stepping on and coming through. Nice thread onto the inside. Looks like he made a tag early.
Another hand tag on the ridge. That was like a reverse ridge dive, though. I've never seen that done that cleanly. Look at this, just
from the outside.
Through. Oh, got his foot.
Foot on the breakaway. Great accuracy there. And like you say, to be able to thread between those bars while looking for something to tag and it to be a moving foot. Crazy work there. Dan stepping up for Rooftop Kings now and chasing down Nomad's player all the way through. Gaeton getting the slip underneath the high line and across the front line underneath the sisters, taking a moment by the tilted cube. A little bit of cover there, but not enough on the open side, and there the tag is made by Dan.
Yeah, and that, like we said, we see Dan. He comes out like he's shot out of a cannon. Now this was the matchup right here that I really wanted to see. Gavin against Dan, right? Two of the key players on both teams. Dan known for his speed, known for his consistency. Gavin, though, I mean, he just looks like he's a bolt of lightning all throughout a chase. You know, but Rooftop Kings lead 2-0, and we're already halfway through, basically.
Yeah, and this is young blood versus young blood. These are the younger players in both of the teams really putting in the energy there. And there was a tag attempt made by Gavin, but has not been given by Dan. Dan slipping underneath the high line and again underneath the mountain. He's keeping his momentum, making sure he's got a full lap, stopping quickly by the front line before making what he thought was an evasion. Gavin thinking there was a tag there, but just outside the time.
A last second tag. That was so close to 20 seconds. Again, Dan, though, showing so much knowledge of the quad. Checking, always knowing where Gavin was and just able to get away when he needed to. But in the end, Gavin was able to close the distance, get the tag. But Nomad need to make something happen in Chase 8 here.
Hopefully Gavin can get it done for them. Smaller player versus the larger here. Bent from Rooftop Kings having an incredibly long reach, stepping straight over to the ridge to flush out Gavin. Gavin not taking the bait, running straight through underneath the mountain, stopping quickly with a nice juke, making Bent go one way so he can go the other, stopping off again by the lazy boy in that bottom left underneath the sisters. And again stopping. Really good use of this clock killing behind high cover obstacles. Very good work there by Gavin.
Yeah, Gavin, again, really showing that move over by the sisters where he is running towards it and he just stops on the outside bars. The evader doesn't really, or the chaser doesn't really know what to do because you don't expect anybody to just stop there. You know, he does it so often, it just throws them off and then he's able to get away.
Yeah, I think this is actually one of the iconic tag indexes that Sam Van Ryn created, called Sam Stutter. Gavin doing it really well here. Not able to get the second evasion. You can't blame him. He's been very utilized throughout this match. And we are obviously on the third match that Nomad have played today. So he's got to be puffed out. He's been used so much out of his team that he's not able to get that second evasion. Still got one on the board for Nomads. They're still in with a good chance of winning this match if they can get the next tag and get the evasion opportunity. Gaeton stepping through for Nomad, and he's underneath the high line, keeping himself on the inside there. Dan doing really well to juke. Looks like a tag was attempted. I don't know if it was made. Dan going underneath the mountain and around the loading bay, and then again slipping underneath that high line and across the front line to get the full 20 seconds.
Yeah, we will go to a DTR. Gaetan, you know, again, throwing up his hand over by the lazy boy saying, hey, I got that tag. Looking absolutely gassed, though, right now.
Oh, it looks like there might have been a little slip as well. Redwan looking out for the safety of not just his players, but also the competitors as well. Gaetan possibly having hurt himself on the front line in this tag attempt. There's a slip, threaded tag attempt through the lazy boy. What do you think, Jake?
I don't know. It's so tough to tell from these angles.
And you could tell, obviously, when Gaetan is diving through here, anything his fingers are getting into contact with, whether it be the player or the ground, he's going to feel that haptic feedback, and everything's happening so quickly. He's going to feel very confident with the fact that he got a tag, but same from MIJAS' point of view. He's got to make sure he gets away as quickly as possible. Dan might not feel a quick brush of the fingers. DTR number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of this tournament here today. Lots of disputes. Let's see who comes out on top. And there it is. Evasion given to Rooftop Kings. DTR called by Nomad, but unfortunately that DTR has been thrown back in their face. Rooftop Kings walking away with 3-1 so far, and Gavin stepping up to get the revenge on that DTR not going their way. Gavin might be able to get this tag, but really he needs an evasion. The tag is just part of the game. Gavin is jumping into the center of the sisters here, pushing through the front line, staying high. Very risky maneuver, especially with the humidity and slippiness going on. Slipping underneath the center here. Dan doing really well to outpace him. Staying on the front line. Dan might have done it. A quick open juke, and Gavin getting some contact on the front, but was the contact quick enough?
Yeah, and I mean, Gavin being called on so often in all of Nomad's chases, right? You know, obviously we see Gaetan also, you know, putting the work in. He's gassed over on the side too. But Gavin really putting in the work right now, but getting called on so often that you see it during the evasions. He's just not able to get away, I think, as much as he wants to.
Yeah, there's having the moves, and then there's keeping the moves going for so many rounds when you have so few players. Hard stuff here by Gavin. Really interesting slip underneath the front line bar towards the chaser. You don't see that very often.
I love seeing moves like that because, again, it throws the chaser off so hard. If you could do something that you never thought you'd see somebody do right in front of you, like juke basically directly under your feet, it can get in the head of them and just toss and just throw them off just for a split second. But that's all you need is that split second.
And Gavin straight away back on the chaser plate, having just failed to get the tag. Failed to get the evasion. He's now in the tagging position, and there it is, a tag on the high line of the mountain. Bent trying to jump between the two shoulders of the mountain in the back there, and Gavin getting a nice secure tag early on. And damn, he will need it, getting that 20 seconds of recovery, 20 seconds of action if there's an evasion made, but he cut that down to a quick 14 seconds, or 12 seconds I think on that last one, and you can see eyes closed, breathing heavy, trying to get as much recovery as he can underneath that high wall. Dan being sent in for Rooftop Kings, quick slip through and a quick sprint down, makes his contact, makes the tag, but then checks in on Gavin to make sure he's doing well. It's competitive, but it is friendly.
Yeah, Dan and Gavin, I mean, again, what a way to end out just that match there, right? Two of the star players and the younger players that we've seen so far. I mean, Gavin, you know, this is Nomad's last match of the night. Rooftop Kings will have one more. So, I mean, Rooftop Kings taking it 3-1 again now in the overall standing puts them in first place. They've won all the matches that they've been in. So, let's see what happens in this last match with Dexterity Depot and Rooftop Kings. But before that, we have Mercy of Movement and Fakar.
Yeah, crazy stuff going down here today. That was an awesome match number 8. We have match number 9 and 10 to finish this off by B3 Sports Entertainment, setting up a really cool area here today in Malaga. The Malaga Chase-Off has been a real highly competitive event, but like I say, there's been some standout teams for me. Seeing Dexterity Depot come away with 4 evasions in one match and by one player has been an absolute crazy over the hat trick into the 4 is just stupid for me. That's an amazing amount of evasions to get in one go. The most evasions in a match today, Nomad. Not that last match, obviously they walked away with a 1 evasion loss, but the match before that they managed to get against Murcia 5, was it against Murcia, sorry, yeah, it was against Murcia, 5 evasions in one match. So they've got the most evasions, but obviously it's not about just getting the most evasions in one match, it's about winning the most matches.
Yeah, and right now we have Murcia and Fakal. Fakal have been playing very well throughout the entire match. Murcia, you know, just trailing behind, showing though that like they have the knowledge, they have the skill, but they just aren't able to get the advantage and keep it. You know, and we've seen it, especially with Fakal, a team that snowballs out of control at times. You got to get that momentum and you got to keep that momentum.
Well, Murcia winning the rock, paper, scissors. We've got Pedro stepping in, a star player from Murcia. We saw earlier the only player to get an evasion so far in Murcia's team. Really good double juke on the front line with a quick slip underneath the mountain. He's making good time for 15 seconds on the clock. Again underneath the mountain if he can make that breakaway. But unfortunately the tag has been made. Antoine of Fakor has got that very late tag underneath the mountain, securing that. But he's got to have gassed himself out. He's got an opportunity for the next evasion for Fakor, but what can he do with it, Jake?
Yeah, opening match, almost a 20-second chase, is a pretty rough way to start it, right? Because both Chaser and Evader are going to be tired.
Yeah, definitely on the back foot there. And then we have Antoine stepping in as an Evader, coming round to the tilted cube, stopping off, keeping his eyes on his opponent. Wow, really interesting flush there from Mercy's player into the tilted cube. Antoine pausing by the ridge, nice high EQ obstacle. That's good evasion quality, and he is using it to get that evasion quality.
Yeah, perfectly done by Fakar there. I mean, just showing, again, we talk about knowledge, right, that all these players have. And especially now Fakar coming into this, just having competed last week, 7 days ago, they were in the open division. And then they competed the next day. They have so many matches under their belt in just a week's time.
Yeah, absolutely crazy athleticism for these guys, bringing it to the quad again and again and again. Antoine making a nice little slip out of the loading bay there and back to the loading bay to say, yeah, come on, let's do it again. Let's see what happens. Underneath the mountain to the tilted cube, a little pause there. And he's got a really good foot here on the back. I'm loving to see this. It gives him that acceleration where maybe otherwise he wouldn't. Jake, what do you think about that foot placement on the back of that tilted cube?
Yeah.
Sorry for those little technical difficulties we're dealing with. Hope you guys are still with us. We are now 7-0 up from Fakar. Now, when the stream cuts out, Jake, and it cuts back in, and we're 7-0 up, I only wish I'd have seen what the hell had happened. Crazy things.
Yeah, it seemed as if we had 7 evasions in a row from Antoine.
Yeah, last we saw. I think that's Charlie actually in on the Fakor side. But yeah, Antoine obviously getting on, getting off. I couldn't tell you what had happened, so I'm not going to guess. That'd be silly. But 7-0 brings Fakor into a massive lead and allows them to take home the win. As I talked about earlier, I think the largest amount of evasions in one match has been 8. We are limited by the amount of evasions you can get in any given match because we've only got 16 chases, and the opposite team have to get a tag to give them the opportunity to then get the same streak. Very unlikely thing that's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, what a... You know, again, apologies for the technical difficulties that we had, but to cut out and then come back and it's 7-0, I mean, incredible work there by Fakar. We're going to look at the standings now off to the side. Rooftop Kings and now Fakar tied in first, but Rooftop Kings having played one less match than Fakal. So it is definitely going to come down to if Dexterity, this is interesting, if Dexterity beat Rooftop Kings in the last match, right? Because I believe we only have one more. So if Rooftop Kings beat Dexterity in the last match, they will, you know, obviously win. If Dexterity win, though, they need to win by positive 3 points.
Yeah, I mean, they've definitely got, like I say, a small roster of a team to play. Rooftop going to have to work hard. Dexterity, though, I mean, just from a numbers point of view, Dexterity have lost one of their matches. They've won 2, lost 1. So if they can bring it back and win this last one, then they're obviously coming out very strong. But before that happens, Rooftop Kings have won 3 of their matches. Fakor having won 3 of their matches are up there on the board as well. Rock, paper, scissors having been concluded. Paul, nice little handshake there by the team captain, making sure the shoulder is nice and safe. Red one not dislocating that twice.
Yeah, this is going to be a very intense match. Again, these teams did face each other last week as well. No strangers to one another. They know how each other move and they know what to look for.
Yeah, we have Dexterity with the first evasion opportunity on the quad. And Dan from Rooftop King stepping up on the chaser play. Only 2 players, so we are going to see a little bit of a swap between Dan as well as Bent for Rooftop Kings. 2 players up against 4. Bad odds, Jake, huh?
Yeah, but I mean, if anybody can do it right now, it is Rooftop Kings. You know, we did see them win their last match without Red One. So let's see how they do against Dexterity.
We shall see. Dexterity sending in Sage for the evasion opportunity of the first round of 16. Sage doing some really good open juking here, just behind the ridge, cutting in past the loading bay. But the speed of Dan Van Dissel is no match, being able to cut her down by the loading bay and get that tag.
Yeah, great work there by Dan, just showing, you know, how quickly he can pick up the pace. He doesn't really wait, and he just moves right away.
Alex on the chaser plate for Dexterity. A nice little time off the Dan. That 20 seconds to recover between matches. He's got the tag, which now gives him the opportunity for the evasion. And Dan is making use of it. Quick sprint past all of the center, underneath the mountain, round the ridge. Quick little pause at the ridge to look at Alex. Knows where he is, keeping his hands close to those bars, but not close enough for a snipe. Underneath the sisters, and a quick exit of the tilted cube to cut back into the loading bay. This gave him that time and eventually led to the evasion.
Yeah, that Dan played it perfectly, right? I think he knows you can't get put in a corner against somebody like Alex because he can dive through the bars. He has that long reach, and he got out of every trap that Alex tried to lay for him. We now have Tim Dexter up to try to get a quick tag on Dan and not let him snowball out of control.
Tim used very rarely by Dexterity here this tournament, but hopefully they've saved him up for a bit of speed near the end, and it looks like it. Dan blitzing him on the straights, though. Real fast acceleration still from Dan. Even though he's been used a bunch, he's got loads left in the tank. Full laps of the quad, not slowing down for a second, and that makes almost 3 laps, and then that gives him the evasion. Dan starting off not even in the evasion seat, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, reverse of what we saw from Dexterity in their first match with Alex. Got a tag, then went on to get 2 evasions, which put Dex in a great position then. Now it's putting Rooftop Kings in a really good position. Again, if they beat Dex here, they win. They have the most points.
I truly didn't think it was possible with 2 players. We're seeing some crazy turn of events here. Dan Van Dissel giving it all. Quick little slip by the sisters and then cutting back for tilted cube. If he saves this will be absolutely fantastic. But Paul not letting it happen. Keeping control of that tilted cube. Hands and knees even in the middle of the tilted cube to eventually cut through and get that tag on the tilted cube. Well done by Paul. Pushing out Alex and making it pushing out Dan and giving him the opportunity to come back from this. We're still early days. Chase 5. We've got Bent up on the chaser plate for Rooftop Kings, stepping up against Paul for Dexterity Depot. Paul making a break for it around the tilted cube. Quick double speed vault over the sisters and a pause by the loading. Sorry, ooh, a little slip by the end as well. It looks like a tag was made and then the slip happened. Down by the Lazy Boy, this obstacle on the bottom left of the quad. I hope he's alright. That looked like a bit of a rib bash.
Rooftop Kings just alternating, you know, between two players. You know, Dexterity, though, don't really seem to have an answer for this.
Yeah, I'd love to find out. I can see more players from Rooftop Kings, but I'd love to find out why the other players are not being utilized at all. But meanwhile, Bent's doing really well to get over the sisters there. Alex from Dexterity stepping in with a nice little tiger entrance on the tilted cube to flush out Bent. Bent making really good distance here on the front line, but another slip has taken him down. Heavy landing there by Bent. Big fella goes down heavy, and Alex getting the tag there on this border.
Yeah, last ditch effort. Unfortunately, Bent did slip there on the corner. Alex was able to get the tag, but we do move into chase 7. You know, right before the halfway point of this match, Dexterity still down 2-0.
I truly thought he was going to make it there, Jake, as well. Dan stepping up on the chaser plate, really quick step up and a little pause halfway through the thread of the ridge to flush out Dexterity's player, Alex here. Alex coming through the front line underneath the high, not waiting around, knowing that there could be a threaded tag at any moment and trying to keep that distance between Dan. Dan having none of it to get the tag secured at the tilted cube, kicking Alex out of the quad for his opportunity on an evasion next.
Yeah, you know, we talked about it last week as well. And, you know, all these teams, you always have the people that you want to throw out against certain people. But when you only are relying on 2 athletes, that plan goes out the window. And it's just, you got to alternate. You got to get those quick tags. And right now, Rooftop Kings just has to play defense.
For sure, and defense doesn't look like it's in Dan Van Dissel's nature. There's still a lot of energy here. He's trying to get another evasion on the board, I'd say. Sage closing down, really textbook, good control of that center, cutting back in. Look at that undercut, but a little too late. I think she needed to put the gas on a little earlier than that. Good technique, but not able to bridge the gap with Dan Van Dissel's crazy amount of energy and acceleration.
Yeah, down 3-0 into chase 9. Dexterity, I mean, again, they can take this all home. This match will decide it.
Yeah, Tim hopefully making a decisive tag here, needing to get Dan off of his momentum. Dan, if he gets another evasion, we're really in a dire straight situation. But Tim has made it happen. There the tag is made again by the tilted cube, sprinting out of the border, and Dan is off of the quad.
Yeah, beautiful work there by Tim, just darting in, getting the snipe tag. If you want anybody in this position to try to bring Dexterity back, it is Tim.
Tim may be good at the tags. Let's hope he's good at the evasions, because Bent is stepping up with a large amount of reach on the chaser plate to hunt him down. Tim walking over to the high line while Bent's up in the air, not able to get any traction. Tim making good use, scrambling underneath the sisters. Still got a good bit of distance there underneath the front line again, sprinting across round the Lazy Boy, but another tag being made on the hand there. A little snipe by Tim while he's trying to change direction on the Lazy Boy.
Yeah, Tim was making every right decision that you could make there. You know, just speeding up when you need to, getting away from him. But, I mean, you could not get away from Bent there. He was just biding his time, waiting for his time to strike. Again, they're playing defense as perfectly as you possibly can.
Yeah, and Bent not the strongest evasion player here for Rooftop Kings, but again, they don't need it. 3-0 up into the 11th chase is a strong enough position that if they can just make sure that they kill some time from Alex, then he's going to use up the energy for Alex, will tire him out, and then in the next round, Alex hopefully will not get the evasion. Bent still keeping the energy on, but Alex getting that tag there underneath the mountain.
And now we move into the last handful of chases. We have Dan back up on the chaser's plate. It's just, you know, swapping between the two. Alex, ooh, just getting the hand tag through the safety on the mountain.
could you imagine being one of 2 players in the 4th match of the evening on slippery surfaces here in Malaga, Jake? It would be absolutely insane. I would not want to be these players, and they're playing super well considering the odds. Dan hunting down Alex there at the tilted cube, under 10-second tag, which puts us into...
Yeah, puts us into match point now. Rooftop Kings, if they get an evasion, they will win. They will beat Dex, who have been dominant for most of this competition so far. They only lost 1 match, but to now beat them 3-0 would be insane, or 4-0 if they get an evasion.
Tim's got to do the work here. Not just a tag, but a next evasion off of that, and a next evasion off that, and a next evasion off that. Tim has got to put in the work and save his team if they're willing to walk away with the win here. Dexterity having won 2 of their matches, Rooftop Kings having won 3 previous matches, and it looks like a tag has been made by Tim. So there is hope for sure, Jake. If he can get that tag, now he's got the opportunity to get that runaway evasion. How many evasions does he need to win?
Oh, I mean, he needs 3 just to tie it.
3 to tie it, right?
3 just to tie it. And then we move on to sudden death, which we haven't seen a single one today, which I am so surprised at.
Yeah, definitely not a normal occurrence in any given tournament. I've seen a few sudden deaths come up, especially with these teams that are pitted against each other very hard. Tim making a break for it underneath the high line, underneath the ridge, and scrambling through the loading bay to keep that distance, but it does not work out. Bent, having got the tag, has secured the win, and having secured the win on this game, has secured the win for Rooftop Kings over the whole competition. That means Rooftop Kings, with 2 players by the end of this, have walked away with a victory. Last weekend in Rotterdam, this weekend in Malaga. There is no stopping these champions, even down to 2 players. Could you imagine, Jake, what they're able to achieve with a full roster of 6?
Yeah, I mean, you know, again, Rooftop Kings showed a dominant performance last week. They took home the win at their hometown event. Now, come to Spain, show an absolute dominating performance. They only had 3 players going into this. Then they were cut down to 2 players, and they were still able to get the win. Absolutely dominating fashion.
Really interesting numbers here. I've seen all of the players put a lot on the line. Special shout out to Mercia for that first time competing. I know it is very hard. I remember being on the quad my first time. I'm sure, Jake, you can too. The nerves are there. For them to get 2 evasions in this tournament is a good start. Hopefully they can feel good about that and build on that win. But really, the big numbers. We have Team Nomad in their second match walking away with 5 evasions in their match there. Crazy numbers against Mercia's 2. And then Rooftop Kings also first match walking out with 5 evasions. Really good stuff. But the top spot for a number of evasions in any given match has to go to when the stream cut out and Fakor magically put 7 on the board. Jake, do you reckon they just wrote 7? I don't think they actually got a full 7 tally while we were logged off.
I mean, it was an insane way to come back on. You know, you see Fakor 7-0. Like, absolutely insane. I wish we were able to witness it. But again, you know, technical difficulties do happen. Nonetheless, they're your winners. Again, they're showing 2 of them. There's more than that. But the 2 of them won that last match. Dan and Bent from Rooftop Kings, you know, they got crowned the winners last week. They're crowned the winners this week. Right now, they are looking dominant, and I cannot wait to see them possibly at an international event, because I would love to see how they stack up. We've already seen them stack up against big names, you know, from last week. But how do they stack up against all of the big names, right? Not just some of them, but all of them. And the pressure will be on them, and I cannot wait to see that happen.
Fantastic stuff. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you guys have enjoyed this amazing event here we've set up by B3 Sportainment in Spain, Malaga. The Chase-Off has been a crazy event with all sorts going on the quad. Hopefully everyone gets nice and recovered from this back-to-back weekend of World Chase Tag madness, and we'd love to see these players come back and dominate in future competitions.